They coming in. Give him a couple more minutes, Mr. Campbell, as we, Detective Campbell, as we get today underway. We have a very, very, very big show for you guys tonight. Before we get started, I want to welcome everybody to HBCU Coach's Corner. I'm Rocky, your host, along with my co-host, Mr. Campbell. Our featured host is on the way. He's going to be a little later. But you guys could be anywhere in the world right now, and you decided to log on with HBCU Coach's Corner, and we absolutely, positively appreciate you being here with us tonight. You know, as we do, before we get started, I got to ask my co-host, Detective Campbell, how you doing?
You know, Rocky, I'm doing great. You know, we're gonna let a couple of people get in because something important has happened in the HBCU world. A famous HBCU alumni. You know, when you see I had to change, I went from like I said, I got many jobs, and people know the bishop, also as an educator, sell hair. But one of my main jobs is making sure these HBCU streets are safe, Rocky. So now I had to put my detective hat on. So, in a few minutes, you will let a couple people get on in here. You know what I'm saying? We still got things coming in. We're getting phone calls, lining up witnesses and things. But this is a subject that we're going to touch on before Coach get on. You know what I mean? Yeah, and everything.
Yeah. I want to mention there's a lot of things happening in these HBCU streets. And one thing, I don't want to gloss over it, but FAMU is in business.
How about that? We talk a little bit about that.
Not only did y'all just hire a coach a couple days ago, Coach, y'all got season tickets of basketball already on sale. Basketball just in.
Come on, man. You heard my AD. My AD said she took them long bus rides. Said she had to see it for herself on the ground. Said she only 5'5". She said, hey, I know guys that are 6 foot, they can't be comfortable. So we need y'all also to raise money. The way that starts is season tickets on sale right now. Come on, AD19. Come on, AD19. So that's what we got to do. You heard the Heisman Trophy winner.
She not selling fish plates.
We ain't doing no fish. Raffle tickets.
She not selling raffle tickets. None of that. She said y'all can fix this right here. We buying you season tickets for next season.
We out here balancing budgets, man. We out here balancing budgets. So
because the money that y'all get this year is counted for what? This year, right?
Yeah. So hey man, every dime counts, man.
I really enjoyed the press conference. It was a top-notch, orchestrated, precise production going on. Y'all got some real media people over there at FAMU because they put it on a top-notch production, man. And I'm not just saying that because you on here tonight. I'm saying that because I watched Norfolk State. Mm-hmm. I watched some others, and in keeping with Alabama A&M's production of the introduction of Sam Shade, you guys did equally and certainly just as adequate job as they did in introducing their football coach. You guys did a great job introducing Charlie Ward, and I also really enjoyed his introductory speech. And I always like to learn something. And in that speech, I learned that Charlie Ward, though he got his Heisman by playing at Florida State, he's truly a rattler.
Hey, man, listen. Y'all see, folks don't know how them ties run deep. You see what I'm saying? And how that connection is already there, man. And what is great about that is that I always want the best candidate to be hired, right? I never have a problem with that. if there's a guy. But there's also something to say that you do know where you're going to. You know what I mean? And the coach say, you know where the bathroom is at. You know where the locker room is at. And the one thing about it is when you're a coach, and Charlie said he grew up on the campus. His parents, father played for Jake Gaither. He understands the sports legacy of Florida A&M. His sister went there, you know? So he understands. He lives in Tallahassee. He has relationships with FAMU Rattlers. So he understands what athletics for FAMU means. So that's the thing about it. So he's not coming up there not knowing the Rattler strike, not understanding what it means, and he's home. So that's another thing too. Like he said, hey man, I'm here. This is where I want to be at. So again, I'm not worrying about if he gets a 20-win season and he out the door. You know, so hey man, listen, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. So I'm super excited.
And he was born on FAMU campus.
Born on the campus. Foot Hillier building, what used to be a hospital.
I don't think you could be more of a Rattler than that. No,
you can't. And it was so funny is several Rattlers, Tallahassee Rattlers, that have that. Like I say, our AD, she was born in that hospital. You know, you got see, man. Let me tell you something about black folk back in that day, man. See, you go to the black house because you got to make sure everything gonna be all right. That's the thing about it. You go to the White House, but you come out there with your foot missing. You know what I'm saying? So see, you go there with them black doctors and black nurses. Know you trust it, you know everybody up there, and you come out. So, like I said, man, that's what's so great about. But that also talks about the thing that they've taken from us that we had. We had a hospital. Think about that. We had a hospital. Now we don't. You know, those are things that, again, when you look at it, because of the time, we had a law school that was in Tallahassee. We had a hospital because we had to be self-sufficient. We had to be self-sufficient. So we trained doctors and dentists and lawyers and teachers and engineers all right there on that campus, man. So, you know, that's kind of important, man. So, you know, I'm super excited. You know, again, we don't know what Coach Ward's going to do. You know, like I say, he got a high hill to climb. But what I do like is everybody's rolling in the same direction, and he wants to be there. That's the biggest thing.
You know, as I've been in the HBCU space the last 5 years, Mr. Campbell, that rowing in the same direction has actually been the most surprising aspect of being in this space, to see how rarely in this space all alumni, faculty, staff, fans, and supporters are all rowing in the same direction. That's rare.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, because you got a lot of people that think they can do it better. You got a lot of people that want something that's different. But one of the things, and this is why you see some of the best ADs, like I said, you see Paul Bryant, he's got Alabama, and them rolling in the right direction. You got Ashley up there at Jackson State, he got them rolling in the right direction. We brought AD Suggs in. You got the whole FAMU collective. And again, like I said, there are other, ADs, but I'm talking about these are the ones that you saw. Hey, AD Golf, look at what he's doing down there at Prairie View. You know what I mean? He got those folks rolling in the right direction, man. So it just shows you how important at the top having an AD setting a mindset, a vision. Because that's what Charlie said. He said, man, it's the vision that AD Suggs had that sold me. That's the thing about it. That's the great thing that you got to think about. And see, this is what I like about Charlie. See, you know the thing, Rocky, you know. See, for a lot of young people, they don't know how great Charlie was. Listen. So I'm just going to let y'all know. So again, when you see people like Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick, Charlie Ward was that guy before that. Okay?
Hey, climbing a much steeper hill.
Much steeper hill.
You know, like Charlie is I suggest all of you guys to go back and watch his documentary. There's a documentary on Charlie Ward and his time at Florida State. And it's a very eye-opening documentary about what he went through trying his attempt to be a Division I quarterback and also a Division I point guard on a NCAA championship team, NCAA team in the same conference with Duke.
In Carolina.
Duke yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And Georgia Tech with Ken Anderson number, okay?
Yes.
Listen.
Yes.
We're talking about hard hitters.
Absolutely. Not only, and so what I'm saying is, not only did he win the national championship as a quarterback and the Heisman Trophy, which very, Coach, I can't remember anybody. I'm sure someone else has done it other than Gino Torretta and Charlie Ward. I just can't think of nobody else that done it.
When did what?
Won the national championship and the Heisman Trophy.
No. A couple of Alabama guys have. Mark Ingram.
Okay. I was talking about quarterbacks, but
yeah, okay, quarterbacks. Okay, yeah, quarterback. Now, let's see. Now you said something there. As they said, running down, because the Alabama, because Bryce didn't win it. And I'm trying to think. Joe Burrow.
Absolutely.
Joe Burrow.
So absolutely. So that's it. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
And Carl just said Jameis Winston.
Yep. Okay, I know it's coming out. Again, it's a very rare feat. It hadn't happened probably more than 5 times in the history of college football, and so it was a tremendous accomplishment. Oh yeah, Cam Newton, of course. All right, like I say. But let me say something. Okay, so this is the thing. So to my man, woman, could be Three's Company. No, we're not true. This is interaction. This is what he was really asking a question. He was just saying right on top of it. So we appreciate that y'all know what y'all talking about. See, this is the great thing about it. We got competent. So I'm actually going to give you credit because, again, we're just talking off the top of our dome. So that's what it is. So, yeah, when you start looking and thinking like that, so, yeah, you're right. So that's the great thing about it. So I appreciate that y'all bring it up today. Because you know what is interesting when you start saying that? Because one of the things that I was looking up that you said that, I was wondering, and this is another thing, too, that what was his name? Three's Company. I was trying to think of how many black quarterbacks that won a national championship and the Heisman. And I was thinking about Charlie and Cam, and I was trying to think, is there anybody else that was in that rarefied air? You know what I mean? Now think about that in that rarefied air. To your point, that's black. So so look at man, when you think about again, we're only talking about football here, and then we're talking about a guy who was a starting point guard on an Elite 8 team, if I'm not mistaken, 1 year, and a Sweet 16 team,
and then Elite 8. Yep.
Yeah, so we're not talking about just anybody when we talk about Charlie Ward. He's truly athletic royalty. To be perfectly honest with you, I think he was, and this is, and you could probably put context on this as well. During that time when he won the Heisman, there was truly a question that whether or not black quarterbacks could play quarterback and be successful in the NFL.
Well, that's the reason why Charles. Okay, let's keep it a buck. That's why Charles said, "I'm not about to play this game with y'all. I have the skills to be a quarterback." And it was like, "Oh, we don't know if you're gonna get drafted." He said, "Well, I'm not going to waste my time. Don't even draft me. Don't even draft me because I can go first round in the NBA." So, absolutely, when you talk about that, so when you start thinking about it, and I'll tell you something funny. This is for my Tallahassee people that were there. So when you came to Tallahassee, there, again, Florida State and FAMU have a interesting song and dance that they do each other. You kind of, FAMU people, FSU people, whatever. And I'll just say this, and this is just my class. I had a lot of friends from Miami, okay? My crew was Miami people. And I was already a University of Miami fan. So when the University of Miami came to Tallahassee and beat Florida State, we were happy. I'm telling you without blinking. But I'm telling you, when Charlie Ward was the quarterback at Florida State, everybody from FAMU was rooting for Charlie Ward because of what he had to go through. Because people, like I tell people wanted Danny Cannell to be the starter as a freshman. Okay? And Charlie had worked his way up to be that starter, that quarterback. And, man, it was a lot of stuff that was said about Charlie behind his back. But he always did. Charlie Ward is class personified. And he has always been. He never let any negativity get on top of him. He was always class personified. He knew, man, because, his first year, I think Charlie threw about 15 to 16 interceptions. Oh, he was that was it. Now, he was wild with the ball. You know what I mean? Those buzzwords and things like that and everything. And then he comes back the next year and he wins the national championship. But he never, ever spoke out in negativity against the fan base. He always kept his head down, and that's the thing about it. So that was great about Charlie Ward. So, man, listen, when Charlie and them boys, had that fast break, Derek Brooks and all them boys and William Floyd, man, and when I said them boys was stacked, man, them boys was stacked. You know what I'm saying? And they was you knew these guys, and they was good brothers. You know what I'm saying? They was brothers. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. You see them out and stuff like that. So I mean, a lot of those guys came and played in the NFL. They were in Atlanta. You see them. So man, no. So Charlie Ward is always for FAMU, and because of his parents, he was always a FAMU fan favorite, 100%.
You know, and I'll say this: Charlie Ward was one of those guys. In the moment, I didn't realize it, but in retrospect, I understand it. If the NFL didn't want to give Charlie a chance at playing quarterback, they didn't want to give anybody a chance at playing quarterback. You understand? Now, luckily, due to the transcendent nature of a guy who came from an HBCU that came on, I want to say maybe a year after Charlie Ward, which is he came on the scene and took it by storm, which is one Air Steve McNair, and that was it almost was coming too fast for the league at that point because you had Charlie Ward in 93, then you have Steve in 94, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
94. So it was just coming too fast at him, and I'm glad that they decided to take a chance on not a chance, but they decided to give him what he truly deserved, which is an opportunity to play football in the NFL, and he took it and ran with it. And I think he was true. And this is just, I give Steve McNair the credit. He was the first black quarterback without the traditional pedigree to make it in the NFL. You know what I mean? What I mean by not the traditional pedigree, he wasn't coached by some white dude.
Right. Well, you gotta understand, it was so many great black quarterbacks. And listen, hey man, this is 2025. Lamar Jackson just got drafted a few years ago, and they were still talking about moving him to wide receiver. Okay? So let's not act like everything is kumbaya, and they're like, oh, we still love black quarterbacks. They still, and why did Lamar, and this is what's so crazy when you think about Lamar Jackson and who he was and how dominant he was, and that man still barely got drafted in the first round. Think about that. And they were talking about, well, maybe he can't play quarterback. Maybe he can't process well. He runs too fast. That's the reason why he didn't run the 40 at the combine. Because he knew if he was going to mess around and run that 4.3 that he knew he was going to run, you know what? Yeah, well, I think he would be more exciting as a wide receiver. He had to. See, this is the thing. I'm about to go off on a tangent. We as black people have to dumb ourselves down just to make other people feel comfortable. He could not show his athletic ability because it would intimidate people so much that they will say, no, he can't play quarterback. That is crazy.
And I would say nowadays, I think Charlie Ward, this is the great contradiction in sports and in football in particular. Charlie Ward would be deemed a pocket passer, wouldn't you say? If he was.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He was elusive and electric, but he wasn't running around like Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. But see, that's what people say. Charlie played the game at quarterback like a point guard. That's what they call the offense at Florida State, the fast break offense, because Charlie saw everything and he made the right plays. He knew who to hit. He knew when to run, when not to run. Charlie, if he wanted to, but that's what I'm talking about, the level of intelligence. See, this is what I'm saying. Give this man the level to. Charlie could have ran for 1,000 yards in that offense if he wanted to. But they wanted him to say, hey, listen, when it's taken, when you can take it. But he could have just off and took off. But he had so many skilled playmakers around him. And think about being a point guard, you got to see the play ahead.
I think Charlie wanted to win with his mind.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I think if you watch the documentary, you'll see that Charlie Ward wanted to meet and some of the struggles some of his perceived struggles that had his first year was because he was reluctant to take off and play the game in an undisciplined manner. He chose to try to win the game with his head in his arm. And again, man, Charlie, and I'll say this. I had the pleasure of meeting Charlie Ward, spending some time with him and his wife when he was, I guess he may have been in the NBA maybe 5 years when they went to the championship and played against the Spurs. whatever I say about him as a football player, a basketball player, or even a coach, when I tell you about the person that he is, the man that he is, because I've followed him his entire life from that standpoint as well, he's just a sensational person. Like,
right.
if they were giving a Heisman out for just being a great man, a great father, a great husband, a great man in the community, he win that every year.
Right.
Because he's just that good of a person. And I'm not blowing smoke up your butt or anything like that. He's just that good of a guy. And like I say, to sit across from dinner at him so many years ago, probably going on 25 years ago, and just see how humble him and his family was, to see how just a regular dude he was. Like, you wouldn't even know he ever won anything if you just sit and talk to him, because he just is such a humble, kind, mannerable person.
But you know what's so amazing about that, Rocky? And again, being around, like I say, in his orbit, not, person just like he's not my boy, but everybody that knows him have said that for 30 plus years. So the beautiful thing is, when that is who you are as a person, there's no falsehoods, there's no fake thing. He is who he is. And I'm saying that clearly as a compliment. That's a big deal right there, man.
Absolutely.
All right, now hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now, we know. Wait a minute now.
Hey, this the wrong show, ain't it?
This. Wait a minute. Now. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. I'm going to put y'all on hold now. Hold on now. You want me to talk about what? Now wait a minute. Now, Rocky. Now that was the phone in the back. Now, many people know that we have an off-script crime unit. Because there are things that happen in HBCU space. As Detective Campbell, I'm here to make sure that laws are watched and regulated. Now, I just got a phone. Now, this is a phone call that kind of hurt me, that, Rocky. Now, you know what?
Had it been stealing?
Detective Campbell.
Had it been stealing?
Listen, now, we got some folks that be stealing now. Thank God. Luckily, we listen, I'm going to say this real quick. We ain't got no bad checks, and ain't nobody stole nothing. So we feeling pretty good. We done made it through the whole year without no bad checks, and they stealing nothing. But I'm just going to say something, Rocky. Now, here's the thing. In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police, who investigate the crimes, and district attorneys. But sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the off-script world, dedicated detectives, myself, investigate these vicious felonies and are a member of the elite squad known as the Spectre Victims Unit. Hit it for me. Now, Rocky, I am troubled to say that we got a crime report that an HBCU alum, Shannon Sharp, Unc, Shay, has gotten caught up in a potential.
Say it ain't so.
Listen. Hey, listen. All right, I'm nervous about this now. I'm nervous about this because there is a report that there's two crimes that's going on. Okay, potential. Now, the one said that Uncle Shannon Sharp, HBCU Hall of Famer, football Hall of Famer, Savannah State, that he done did something wrong with some white girl.
Lord have mercy.
Now, that, this usually ain't my jurisdiction. But when it was an HBCU guy, they had to call me because, he needed to see, man, listen, we in this Trump world, he called us to make sure we investigate the crime because he wants a fair and balanced. Now, the other crime is, now, because we got connections through back channels, that alleged white girl is trying to shake him down for $50 million. $50 million. That's a lot of money. And we've been told through our investigation that Unc offered her $10 million.
Lord have mercy.
$10 million. So now I'm just saying, now this is a lot of investigation. So we got a lot of things going on. But Rock, I'm just going to say this. What in the hell she got on that he offered her 10 million, she would take it down? we gotta talk about this.
I have no idea. I did come across a video of him talking about him being someone shaking him down, and that there is a 30-second video of him, but it's not what it seems. Now, see, I don't know what he's talking about. It's not what it seems. Mm-hmm. But he said it should be about 10 minutes long. That's what he said. I don't know what he mean by that. He say it's 30 seconds, but it should be 10 minutes. And
10 minutes.
Yeah, that's Mr. Campbell, he's 56 years old. He's around my age. And so he's 56 years old. So 10 minutes pretty good if it lasts that long.
Hey, listen. Now listen. Now I don't know how many of y'all watch Unc and Ocho on that nightcap. Now Unc got a sponsor called Rose Sparks. Now Rocky, you're married, so you good. But see, as a singer, but see, I don't need that rope. But people like Shannon might need that rope. They said that rope had you going for a long time now. He told Ocho he go 20 minutes deep. So I don't know if that rope got him going crazy, losing his mind. Not Rocky. Now listen, we this is a family show, okay? We're not going to go too deep, but there's some things that was concerning. Now there were some text messages that was sent back and forth. Now, one of the things that concerned me in the text message is that, and I'm just going to say, we might have to pull a picture up because we might have to pull a picture of this white girl.
Let me see, can I get her up here?
No, okay, because do I need to send you a link?
I think, hold on, let me see.
Because while you pulling that up, and again, we lied, we're doing an investigation. She said each cheek was worth $25,000.
Lord have mercy.
Each cheek. Man, that's 50 grand. Man,
oh man.
Each cheek? What are we doing?
She asked for that off the rip.
She said, hey, that's what she told him. Each cheek is worth 25. 25. Now this ain't young. Now listen, Young Miami, she might be worth 25. You know what I'm saying? Who else he had on there? He had a couple other people, Megan Thee Stallion. But this white girl here, 25. And then now, Rocky, this is what concerned me. And I got, hey, listen, man. You listen. Not to say that your arm don't, get a little bit loose. You know what I'm saying? But that's a private business. So I ain't got no problem you want to get loose, but you get you loosened with. But when you out here talking about that you want to put a big black baby in me with your blank, 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 and that you want to suck something all day long, so you can have a big black baby, and I want to put your tongue XYZ. Now, see, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna share this picture with the peoples. I'm gonna share it with the peoples. Now, this is we have listen. We got surveillance tape all over the place now. Now this is it. This is straight off the detective's Facebook page, and this is what 10 million. This is what 10 million don't look like.
That don't look like $10. That don't look like $10. Come on, man. What are we doing? And the reason why we're only, and I'm gonna say this, the reason why I want to talk about this on a serious note. We, as black men, black athletes, professional people, you got to be careful. Whatever you do. Now, the thing about it is what's concerning me. There was a report that Shannon might get $100,000, $100 million, potentially in a new deal for all his podcasts. And this is what he wants to bring him down. See, that concerns me.
The HBCU alumni.
HBC, come on, man. So that's what again we see. We usually don't talk about this and things like this, and we are making a little bit light of it. But I'm saying this to a lot of younger people: decisions that you make can come back to haunt you. The people that you are around can come back to haunt you. So always be around quality people. Always be around people that have your best interest. And I'm gonna say this for all them old fools: leave them young girls alone. Leave them young girls alone. Cause listen, I ain't no bad looking dude. Now I had some young girl, but see, listen, them young girl gonna put you on blast. If you don't do them right, they ain't got no problem putting you on blast.
You know, I was on campus with you, and in Atlanta, and one thing that you was clear about being a single man living in Atlanta, you said, I only date grown women.
Period. Grown women. Because they got just as much to lose as I do. And the woman I date is grown. And don't nobody know who she is. And that's why we keep it like that. She happy and I'm happy. But them young girl gonna tell, like you know that young girl getting that escalation, she gonna tell.
she got to take a picture.
All up, you know what I'm saying? Talking about them riding on 22, talking about where we going to eat. Talking what kind of sheets I got on my bed.
She gonna take a picture of you and her hand on that peanut butter.
Listen, come on, man. I already know that. Listen, man, I got
we call it back in East Waco, Texas. We got a term for it. Say, you know, she gonna dry snitch.
Oh, easy. But she ain't dry snitching. She wet snitching for.
Oh yeah.
Well, trying to get 50 million.
Now, this is what bothers me about the whole deal, and I'll say this, Mr. Campbell, is that this is a wildly successful black man at the top of his field, right?
Right.
At the top of his field. And he's playing with potentially going to be taken down by poor judgment and poor decisions. And it has to do with a white woman. That's a story that's as old as I am, Mr. Campbell. When are we gonna, and I'm not suggesting that there's something wrong with white women for that matter. I'm just suggesting how many times are these successful men gonna fall for these same antics over and over and over again? And in my 54 years of living, it's happened to dozens, probably hundreds of very successful black men where they've lost their freedom, they lost their reputation, all over an entanglement with white women.
Period.
I just don't get it.
And see, and the dangerous thing that would concern me, this is the same thing what happened to Puffy. I didn't do anything. All these are lies. All that. He should pay that girl off. She'll pay cash that money and gone. And then, because see, once these folks start digging and keep digging, that's when you find out they find something else. See, that's what I'm concerned about. And like you say, when you're at that level, and one thing, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people don't like Stephen A. Smith, but one thing I admire about Stephen, you don't never hear his business, ever. And Stephen A. Smith got a grown woman girlfriend. Them few pictures that you see, that's a grown woman that he with. You don't never hear nothing about Stephen A. Smith. Same thing. You know who I got tremendous respect for? LeBron James. LeBron been in the game, not just in the NBA, but from high school. I heard no about LeBron foolishness. Now, I'm not saying he has or has not, but the point of it is he has enough respect to understand he is a brand. And
he embraces the notion that he is a role model and he should be a exemplary citizen in society and give men in the NBA and men as a whole something to strive for. Like, you know, not many guys, and I say not many, but there are very few guys who embrace being a role model and who are willing to put their, I ain't gonna say private life, but their lives up to scrutiny. And LeBron James welcomes that. You know what I mean? Yeah. He welcomes the fact that he puts his life to scrutiny, and to the point to where people have to almost create foolishness around LeBron and his family for it to be even talked about. We had a fool last week say something about Savannah doesn't look at him with a certain honor, like she doesn't look at him like he's the god he is or whatever. Like, and I don't even know why that conversation even gets traction in our community.
And I want to say Kevin Gates, a rapper who ain't been faithful to nothing. And he gonna speak on another man's. And then he said,
and his family. He's speaking on his wife.
Right. And talk about where the white women look at him. You know, man, see, this goes back to a level of intelligence that there is none on certain levels. And that because we have this thing right here that anybody can get on anytime and say something stupid. And like you say, the fact that you would disrespect this, disrespectful. Who are you to say how she look at him? I know she look at him good enough for them to have all them kids and be married 20 years. That's a look. That's a good look. I like that look. I like black love that looks like that. 2 young men that he's raised, that are good young men, a daughter, a wife. How about that? That's the look I want for anybody black, anybody white, anybody period. So come on, man. So that's just crazy. So yeah, man, you know, we just wanted to touch on this a little bit, you know, and everything. We'll get into, you know, what we were going to talk about. But, you know, it's in the lexicon. You know what I mean? People are talking about it. Shannon Sharpe, like I say, because you got to understand something. Shannon Sharpe is an HBCU alumnus. I'm very proud of because you got to think about him and Stephen A. are 2 HBCU alums.
Probably the 2 biggest guys in sports media right now.
You know, think about that. One guy already got a $100 million contract. And let's be clear. See, this is one of the things, and this is no disrespect, but this is what I'm talking about, how great our HBCU. Stephen A. went to Winston-Salem State, okay? Not a huge HBCU, a very great school, but it's not Howard. It ain't FAMU, it ain't Jackson. I'm talking about as far as size, okay? Not talking about education, because all HBCU education is amazing. But I'm talking about the size. Shannon went to Savannah State, okay? And to think, so nobody can ever tell you, no matter where you go, that you can't go get $100 million from HBCU. Can't nobody tell you that lie? Because we got 2 men that are not, and I'm not talking about all the amazing women that have graduated, that are doing it. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a person that got more money than them. Oprah Winfrey, Tennessee State, that's a billionaire. So that's what I'm saying. So when we see this, man, we are trying, literally, you don't think Shannon had somebody, one of his coaches say, hey, man, watch what you're doing out there in them streets. Deion says it all the time. I admire Deion for that. Deion has a quote, I'm paraphrasing. Hey, don't let what you do tonight rule what happened tomorrow, basically. And I'm paraphrasing. But you heard him say that. Don't go out there in them streets and cause a problem. So, you know, man, I just think that, you know, I hope it works out. You know, I hope they can resolve it and he can move on and because like I said, he's hiring black people. $100 million, hey man, $100 million is $100 million, man. That's crazy. And if he messes around, because you know folks is gunning for you. Because, you know, I can just see the white guy, he's negotiating. Well, you know, Shannon, you know, we'll still work with you, but you gotta got these things that you keep bringing up. You know what I mean? So we're going to put this clause in your contract that Pat McAfee don't have. That if, you know, something like this even kind of happens, we'll cut you off. See, that's what they do, bro. That's what they do to you. So come on, man. So no, we ain't doing it. So
I'm gonna send this. This link out to Zoe and Zach Blue in the event they want to join in on this next topic.
We do need you to come up because that was one. Because matter of fact, that goes into our next topic. So Blue, yeah, do come up because that's one of the things. Now you know I'll set this up. So we offer Shannon and everything like this. Here was one of the things that was interesting I saw. And there was a player who went to Florida A&M, and like I said, have no problem. And this is a bigger thing. He's a player. He's moving on. He's going to Auburn. Okay? He's going to Auburn. Now, as we all know, revenue share starts next season. Okay? So I know the University of Georgia, for their revenue share, on average, is paying their football players $175,000. Right? So you would assume that Auburn is probably in that area. Would you not agree, Rocky? Probably going to be somewhere in that area?
Yeah. That major university.
So the question I want to pose to people in the chat, if you had a child and your child is playing, and because I'm going to phrase it like this, is an all-conference level player, because this is what usually happens. That's why I want Blue to come up, because he had the numbers about kids not playing. Would you want your child to actually play football, be an all-conference player in the SWAC, or go sit on the bench or at any Power 5 school, but get a check for $150,000. So, Rocky, I'm going to ask you, as somebody, you're a parent, but see, because this is very important, that he has played at a high level, but he's not going to play. It is already known he's not going to play. What would you tell your son?
I would tell my son, go have the best college experience he has. And I think that involves playing and making all conference or being given the chance to be a player. You know, one of the things I always that is something that we'll interrogate and break down and find out as this NIL era goes forward. Playing time is ultimately going to be the deciding factor of whether a kid is happy or whether a kid truly enjoys his collegiate experience as an athlete. Because if you don't play, are you really getting the full essence of a collegiate experience? Like that's what it's really about. And you know, you've been a sports fan for as long as I have. And it is sad when you see great players come from your neighborhood, maybe your city, maybe your region, and they go off and they go to Texas or Ole Miss or Mississippi State or wherever, and they don't get a chance to showcase their talent for one reason or another. That's a sad circumstance or situation. And some of those guys, you know, never recover from that experience. They don't even look at the opportunity they got to be on the team as being something worthy of being mentioned. But any guy who got a chance to play, I don't care if it's at junior college or at the University of Texas, they all relish the fact that they got a chance to get on the field and participate, make plays, get their name in the paper. You understand what I'm saying, Steve? Like, I think playing is a big deal at the end of the day for an athlete. I think for pro athletes, money has always been the goal. So whether you were playing or not, you could be appeased with money and be considered successful because you were getting paid. I don't think that's the case at the collegiate level. I think guys still want to play because at the end of the day, you don't have 15, 20 years to play college football. You only have 4 years or 5 years, and you want to play when you can.
So this is the thing, you know, and I hear people saying, you know, sit, get the money. I'm having a brain lock, but I'm going to use one person, Marquise Bell. Him actually playing on the field at FAMU allowed him to now play in the NFL. So what if Marquise Bell has said, you know what, I'm going to go back to Maryland, not play, but I'm going to get $150,000. But now he's got a $12 million contract because he actually played. And I'm going to say this. Whatever the kid's decision is, I'm with it. Because first of all, you're not my child. And I'm not you. So again, you might have some kids say, hey, I need that money for whatever the reason. And I respect that. But what I'm thinking, what is very interesting is this is going to start happening. And now what we're having now, because what are we hearing now? HBCUs are going to be number JUCOs, right? Because they're picking our best players off. But the thing about it is, this is the thing about what happens when you got a lot of kids. Like I said, Blue actually had the stats. What I'm saying, Blue must be on another show. But he had the stats where it was like these guys, they went and they didn't even play. General Hunt went to Illinois, didn't play.
Well, I thought about doing a slide on his stats, but I didn't know the context of
Here come Blue.
What they meant. I didn't understand the context of what it meant, and I didn't want to damage the kid's reputation.
Yeah, no. He's a grad student.
Basically, General Hunt had 10 sacks, 32 solo tackles, all-conference player at FAMU, and he went to Illinois and had 1 tackle, 1 assist, and played in 5 games.
So that's the thing. Now, again, Zoe could come and maybe give perspective on this. Blue could give it. But if General Hunt, who was a dominant player in the SWAC, comes back and all those guys come back on that defense, right, and dominate, you don't think they get a look? because of the numbers that they're putting up. That's the thing that, again, and again, this is going to be such a hard thing for kids that are going. And like I said, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you do it either way. What we're doing is having a dialogue, and that's why I'm very curious to hear what people.
And I want to ask Blue, and I'll ask you the question as well. Can a player truly develop without playing?
I've never seen it. I've never seen it, because that's the whole thing. And that's the reason why, again, why the portal was great is because, and listen, let's be clear. We have had guys to drop down and actually play. Again, Marquise Bell's a perfect example. Bolden, the third corner for Jackson State. You see what I'm saying? He left Florida State. He played that nickel corner with two other guys that were NFL quality corners and got drafted by the Patriots because he played. Because he played in that defense that was highlighted with Deion. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. So
yeah, that's my man Blue right there. Thank you, Blue, for jumping on, man, on such short notice. I appreciate it. But I think you're uniquely qualified to really have this conversation. Not only do you have the stats and all that kind of stuff, I think you also have the knowledge of what playing does for a player versus sitting. You know what I mean? And I'll ask you the same question I asked Mr. Campbell. Can a player develop without playing?
No. I mean, especially not as a senior right now. Maybe that freshman can, because Rocky, Mr. Campbell, we've all had to make the jump, right? Every level you jump, you got to adjust to the speed of the game. It's more complex, right? You don't understand the playbook the same in high school as you would at the college level, right? You have to learn so many new concepts. You have to learn that playbook for that particular scheme. You got to get used to the coaching, right? Because you guys know the coaching at high school and college is completely different too. And not only that, you got to deal with off the field stuff too. So I think the adjustment period for freshman, sophomore, yes, you can grow as a player sitting on the bench, but guys, once you get to that senior year and you're 22, 23, we got guys 24, 25 now in college football. What are they learning sitting on the bench? Let's just say, because I don't think James Ash is going to be a starter at Auburn, but he'll play some, right? He'll be a rotational piece, a depth piece. So let's just say he plays 200 snaps next year. Did he get better in those 200 snaps in the SEC than he would playing 700 snaps at FAMU and being a 3-time all-conference selection? Because he's already a 2-time all-conference selection. I have a hard time saying he grows more in those 200 snaps in the SEC than he would being a full-time leader of the defense as he would be at FAMU if he came back for another year. So I don't think you can grow on the bench once you get to junior, senior year.
Now, Blue, you had an interesting stat on your show. And shout out to the Blue Bloods and Coach. Come on, watch all the time. Do you say that stat with the guys that left and they didn't play? Can you tell people, roll that? Now, Rocky, this is going to blow your mind what Blue's about to tell you guys.
So 387 FCS to FBS transfers in 2024. An average college player plays 600 to 700 snaps. Rocky, only 19% of those FCS to FBS transfers played over 600 snaps.
Wow.
And then this gets crazier. Only 32% played 500 or more. Only 36 played at least 400. And 55% of those FCS to FBS transferred played at least 300 snaps. Now, of all those transfers, right, the 387, 33% were all conference players at the FCS level. 48% of those all conference players play less than 300 snaps at their new school at the FBS level.
Let me ask you this, Blue, because that's interesting. Because the one thing popped into my mind: if you're a player with a year left, then you're really taking a gamble. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you're a player with 2 or 3 years left, does the calculation change?
Yes. The success rate for a player moving up with 2 to 3 years of eligibility, the success rate probably doubles or triples for most players. Because let's just look at the FCS guys. So I want to exclude the Ivy League guys from this conversation, right? Because that's the Ivy League model. Because guys, if y'all are at Harvard, I'm at Harvard, we're not leaving Harvard,
Right.
giving up that degree for
Because
any amount of money.
you try to own a team, not play
There's
for
a quarterback. There's a quarterback that did recently. He went somewhere. I can't think of where he went.
Well, the quarterback, so Ivy League, you can't redshirt, Rocky. So, and they can't
Oh.
play football as a graduate. So, what they'll do is they'll bring these Ivy League guys, they'll graduate from Harvard, they'll have 1 year of eligibility left, and they'll go play grad ball.
Okay, gotcha.
It was the quarterback from Yale, but he played
Yes.
his whole career at Yale. So, let's take them out, right? Because they have to transfer with a year left because they just can't play. So, if they're not NFL guys, they're going to go make some money, right? And they got their Ivy League degree. But outside of the FCS, Bashil Tootin from North Carolina A&T, running back, transferred up with 2 years of eligibility. He's going to get drafted this year, right? Because first year at Virginia Tech, you guys saw some growing pains, right? Rotational guy. This year, stepped into a starting role, was one of the best running backs in the country. Cam Scatabo, Arizona State, transferred up with 2 years of eligibility. Took a year to develop, became a star this year. Shador Sanders, first year had a good year. This year took a big step forward. Cam Ward, transferred up with what, 4 years of eligibility, COVID year? Every year he's gotten better, right? Jared Verse, UAlbany to Florida State. 2 years at Florida, or 2 years at UAlbany, 3 years at Florida State, was a first round NFL draft pick. All the FCS guys you see transfer up, a lot of them transferred up with 2-3 years of eligibility because you guys know this. In the recruiting process, teams lie. And I know, and I'm not going to name their names because I respect their family and I appreciate them sharing their stories. But guys, there are guys who transfer up with 1 year of eligibility with promises of, man, you're going to be a contributor. Look how good you are. Rocky, once you sign that NLI and that portal closes,
They're
what
done.
do we owe you? Because, and I think it's unfair, but I want to put in perspective, right? Who do y'all have more loyalty to? Rocky, Mr. Campbell, are y'all going to have more loyalty to a guy you've known for a year? Or y'all going to have more loyalty to the 5th year guy who y'all recruited out of high school and you've known him and his family for 5 years? If it comes down to him versus the 1 year guy you just got out of the portal, who are y'all going to lean toward?
The guy you know.
100%.
That's what happens. They get trapped behind the guy who's been on the roster because they don't have as much loyalty to you as the guy that stuck around on their roster. You're a hired gun and you're not ingrained into the culture of the program. And that's what happens a lot of the times with these 1 year guys.
Hey, Rocky, this is what I'm going to tell you something. And shout out to my nephew, Ken Clark. This is why I got to give Jack State credit. Because, see, a lot of times the Blue understands this. Sometimes it's just having a little bit of money. So you got those guys got that collective rolling. They got guys that were probably like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving. Ken never got a collective down there. That they've got choice guys that say, hey, you know what? We'll take care of you. So, again, they're going to develop. They're going to play at Jackson State because Fortillion, to me, is one guy that I thought he was going to be gone just because he just has the size, right? I know he's on the NIL because they market him on the NIL, so this ain't no secret. I'm telling some secret. But that's the thing to me for Fortillion is like, let me stay at Jackson State, catch 45, 50, 60 balls, right? High point, then going to be the 5th receiver, like some guys that transferred and never played at some SEC school. But you know what I'm talking about? Don't want to say not trying to hurt the kids. But my thing is, that's the thing. So to me, while there's a lot of money, I think kids want to challenge themselves and compete. And I think, again, and hey, man, shout out to Kelvin Dean because he was part of this conversation that we had. I think you might have saw that Kelvin Dean was talking about because we talked about moving up and things like that. And it's like these kids are like, hey, man, we just need something. Because we love the schools. But again, we look at the business part of it. So I think, again, all the HBCUs are really going to have to really do what Jack State is doing. They're going to have to come up with a collective. Again, ain't no $1 million collective, but it's something where kids, because this is where I think we win. Because while you might not get $150,000 from us, we'll give you $150,000 in Lubbock. And it goes a long way. And you will play. And playing, to me, means something. I'm a competitor. And you go to Auburn, and man, listen, like I say, you know, Marcus McNeil is my cousin Blue, like I told you. Top player at Auburn, you know what I'm saying, playing on one of the greatest Auburn teams. I know what that atmosphere that Auburn is at. If you're playing, but if I'm sitting on the bench and I'm never playing, man, I'm going to FAMU, Jack State, A&T, Alcorn, so I can ball out. Look at James Houston. I think he's a perfect example of that. Now, somebody said that some of these guys had Power 4 tape. But they did not have the tape to Blue's point where they played more snaps coming to FAMU, Jackson State, A&T, wherever they went and played.
So there's one guy that I'll name nameless Because, like I say, because it doesn't matter. Hold on. Sorry about that, Blue. My question is, if you're a guy, and I'll just say his name, Jonah Hunt, who ended up being redshirted last year, right? That's the reality. Would he consider coming back to FAMU at this point? Or does he, or does he stay at Illinois another year? You know, those are the kind of questions that I ask a guy. You go up there, and I don't know his injury status. I don't know who he had in front of him, any of that stuff. So I really don't have any real context to why he didn't play as much. But just looking at it on the surface, he was a very important piece of a national championship team, and he goes to a team where he makes 1 tackle, 1 assist. You know, that's a big drop off. To me, he would have to be unhappy in that situation and circumstance. I would assume.
I'll say this, okay, and this isn't because I do think we have to have an honest conversation here about it. There are some guys that I don't blame just going to chase the bag, and let me explain. I think Gentle Hunt falls into this, and I'm going to explain why. And I know this is going to sound really messed up, but I really do believe this. Gentle Hunt was never going to the NFL.
See, now
look at his body, Rocky.
I get it.
He's listed at 5'11". Rocky, I've seen him. I don't know. 5'11-ish, we'll call it. And he's probably 290 to 300, maybe 310 if he can put on some weight.
He doesn't have the right attributes.
He's not going to play defensive tackle at the National Football League. So guess what? If you can leverage FAMU into a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 NIL deal at Illinois, bro, go do it. And I'll say this, and I won't name the player's name because I was told this in confidence. There was a really talented HBCU defensive end, guys. 1 year of eligibility. His coaches shopped him around to SEC programs because they knew he didn't have the size to play professionally. His family was in a tough spot. He was an FCS All-American. They shopped him in the portal and said, would y'all give this kid an NIL deal? He transferred up, got about $400,000-500K, and set the bench.
See, you know, Blue, you know what's funny that you said, and I'm so glad. See, this is what I'm talking about, broad perspective. I have no problem with that because that was another thing, too. If I'm a guy, right? Because, see, now you got to be honest. Everybody, hey, it's not going to be an NFL player.
It changes the context of college football, though.
Huh? But hold on.
That mindset changes the context of college football.
Yeah. But if I'm a guy, but I'm talking about what Blue is saying, and I'm making a business decision, not my heart. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not going to get drafted anyway. And I've already graduated, especially guys like that. Because we're not talking about the 2 year guys like the A&T running back, like you said. I'm talking because a lot of this, I'm really talking about these 1 year guys, right? And I can go get $200,000-300,000, another degree. I probably would do that myself. If my child came to me and said, hey, Dad, listen, look, I'm 5'7.5", right? And my kid is a slot receiver. And hey, man, me and his mom, we happy they go to FAMU. He said, Dad, listen, I go up there to Auburn and go get 150. He already got his degree. I know he's not gonna get that, man. Go get that 150, bro, and get another degree. So that's the thing about it. I just think that this is so interesting. And what I guess again, Blue, what do you think going forward? Is this going to be the thing, to your point, where these kids that are all conference type kids sophomore year, that's just going to be an automatic thing? That because it's going to start trickling out, because that mindset is going to start happening. What you say, well, maybe because they're going to start hearing these stats too from these agents. Leave now so you can get into the program, and then by your senior year, you'll be able to start. Now we don't know if that's true or not, but I think that's going to start happening too.
It is, and I'll tell you guys, and John, more than you expect. Whatever the number is in your head, it's more than that. I'll just put that out there. That Lance was not leaving. No. Like that. They lost other players because they said we're going to keep Lance. I'll just put it like that. But in terms of that, Mr. Campbell, I had a head coach from a program that is out west that texted me and said, please don't put our players on freshman All-American anymore. I'm serious. Rocky, I texted a coach. He said, are we going to have any freshman All-American? This was a different coach. I said, yeah, these two kids, and this kid's in consideration. He said, "All right, man, I just wanted to know who we need to be prepared to lose." Rocky, we put out our freshman All-American team. 75% were in the portal within 2 weeks.
Wow.
This year. 75%. You want to know the North Dakota State kid just entered in the second portal window, so that's another kid down. The Montana State kid, I want to say, is the only running. The the Montana State kid and the Monmouth kid, I think they're the only two offensive players that are still at their FCS program. It's that bad. If they get a freshman All-American honor early, it's hard to keep them. But at the same time, too, guys, I talked to other coaches, right? Like Incarnate Word, that they bring back 2 1,000-yard wide receivers last year. One of them is already on NFL draft radars. It's also up to the coaches and program to put in their heads, like, man, we can sell you. Like, you don't have to go chase this bag now when you have a chance. Like, we have history of having players drafted, right? We can get you to the league. There's agents here, there's scouts here, and it is also on the GM, the head coach, and whoever the NFL liaison is for the program. You have to start in-house recruiting your kids immediately. That's why Jalen Walthall's an Incarnate Word. I can tell you guys now, Jalen Walthall is not getting paid a penny from Incarnate Word to stay there. And he's probably the number 2 NFL draft prospect out of the FCS next year. The reason he's staying is he said, I came from the FBS level. I wasn't playing up there. I've had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I'm going to get drafted from Incarnate Word. It's also one of the FCS programs and HBCUs to talk to kids who are true NFL prospects and show them these stats, right? And say, if you're already solidified, there's scouts coming to see you here, moving isn't going to help you. Like, let's just take, I mean, who out of the HBCU do y'all think is the top prospect next year? Maybe like Jeremiah Williams from Jackson?
Yeah.
Jeremiah Williams doesn't need to go anywhere. He's the number 1 returning defensive tackle in the FCS. He's going to be an HBCU All-American, an FCS All-American. He might be the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year coming into the season, maybe Kelby Givens, but he'll be a top guy, right? If he leaves with 1 year left and goes and plays at some random FBS program, unless it's a top program that guarantees him a starting spot, his draft stock will drop.
And that doesn't mean he can't play. And the thing about it, Blue, that doesn't mean he can't play. Sometimes, like you say, coaches are comfortable. This guy's been here. He already knows.
Well, I always wonder, especially people don't know how important it is, but the system on the defensive line matters for certain guys.
Yep.
And if you're in a system from a defensive line standpoint that you can execute, then I would stay with that. I've seen guys go from a 1-gap system to a 2-gap system and they disappear.
Yep.
Because they just can't master the 2-gap system,
Yeah. You'll be playing a 3 right at FAM. Like, let's just say James Ash. What happens if James Ash gets thrown into nose guard at Auburn? Good luck. Like, what? He doesn't play nose guard, right? That's not his scheme. Or what if they slide him out to the 5 and put him at edge? Does that complement his? Like, you have to figure out where. And I think these are questions that these kids aren't asking too. And it's because you have these agents sliding into. Like, I'll just say this, and I won't name the player. Guys, I know 3 FCS players, 2 of them HBCU, that are represented by agents that they've never met in person.
Wow.
Listen, now, okay. We about to
how is that guy going to inform you on the best decision?
As somebody that did that business, and see what I'm concerned, and let me ask Blue, do you know this or not? In the NFL, you have to be certified.
Yep.
In college, there's no certification for college. Anybody can say they're agent, right?
Yep.
That's the concerning part for me, because I've heard too many. So perfect example. I have a lot of friends of mine that their kids are now coming up through the system, right? They knew I was an agent, that we had a thing, and they'll call me and they say, "Hey, Steve, what?" And I say, "Hey, go talk to this person. Go talk." 'Cause I know these people, and then they'll come back and they'll say, "Well, we talked this up." I said, "Have you met them?" "No, we met them on Twitter." "What do you mean you met them on Twitter?" Because if they can't take the time to sit down and talk to you and tell you what their plan is, but we got all these people, and I'm saying, well, who do they represent? Well, they got a bunch of people. Who? And then they fumble and stumble.
I had good friends that got drafted back in the day, and what they say, they signed with whoever gave them the best advance. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, agents would give guys advances.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
In exchange to represent them on a deal. I don't even know if that was legal. I don't think it was legal, but that's what.
Well, technically, okay. So let me tell you the legal part. if your playing eligibility was up, yes, you could give a guy an advance. But where it was done, it was already promised at the beginning of the season. As soon as you come, I'm going to give you $1 million, get a line of credit, which you still have to pay back. Okay? Don't get it twisted. That's why a lot of these guys getting hemmed up. Man, I could tell, and again, not to get too bogged down, I'll tell you, it was a guy, top running back, played at Louisville. I had a friend of mine. The kid went to his church, right? And he knew his parents and everything. We go up there, 3 sharp brothers, you know what I mean? Partner was a lawyer, my other partner was good, just good, clean. We come in there and like literally there's a phone call, right? And CA had just started their sports agency, right? And the guy, whoever the CA guy was, one of the big guys at that time, and he was like, hold on, I got somebody in the background. It was fucking Will Smith. And he had, the guy said, Will Smith listen, yeah, man, come out to LA. I'm going to bring you on the movie set. Then, you know, I'll wear your jersey, blah, blah, blah. That kid looked at us and said, hey, man, I like y'all. But these are lies and things that I can see these street guys are even worse. But these were legitimate guys that were licensed. So now you got these guys, and again, these NIL agents that are saying, I'm going to get you this, and got these kids, all these kids, everyone, I guarantee you, Blue, you know what we should do is some kind of way find out all those kids in the portal and find how many of them went in the portal because some NIL agent told them to go in the portal because they can get them 15,000, 20,000, 50,000.
It's close. It would be over 50%. And what's crazy is, and I've been calling for this, I think these NIL deals need to be public for one, like NFL contracts. Like we need to know what the market is because, guys, there are players leaving. And I see the comments about, you know, there's no looks at the HBCU level, FCS level. The G5 had 19 players drafted last year, guys. The FCS had 12. Moving to a G5 program is not helping your draft stock. So unless you're Jerry First, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, and you're going to the P4 and you're a superstar like Cam Scatterbo or Tootin or Teddy Buchanan from UC Davis to Cal or Marcus Harris to Cal, going to Marshall from Jackson State or FAMU is not helping your draft stock. Going to Bowling Green from North Dakota State is hurting your draft stock. Leaving Incarnate Word to go to Louisiana Tech is hurting your draft stock. And my bold prediction this year, there's a chance there's more FCS players selected in this year's draft than G5 players.
Wow.
Blue, let me ask you this, because this is what it's boiling down to, in my opinion. Players at the P5 level, the Power 4 level. In my opinion, there are some programs that have group of 5 profiles. Yeah. It's not even worth going to those programs, in my opinion. You know, yeah. And I'll say this, Illinois is one of them.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I mean, so since 2014, since 2014, Tennessee State has had 5 NFL draft picks since 2014. That's more than multiple P4 programs and a lot of G5 programs. To put in perspective, North Dakota State has had 12 draft picks since 2014. How many P4 programs outside the SEC and Big Ten is that more than?
And we're talking first rounders. Top 5 draft picks.
They're going to have a first rounder this year. Like, I'm sorry, like David Walker is a guaranteed draft pick this year. If you can get drafted from Central Arkansas, you can't tell me that we can't have more players drafted from Jackson State and FAMU, because I'm an FCS guy, but there is more attention on FAMU and Jackson than Central Arkansas. And two, the kid from Houston, Christian, got drafted in the 3rd round last year and had a sack in the Super Bowl for the Eagles.
What does this say, Blue, about coaching and development? And because I have my own opinion about it, I'll ask you, Mr. Campbell, if consistently there are Power 5 and Group of 5 schools taking 400 or 500 FCS players up to their level each year, is that an indictment on their scouting and development, or the coaching at the FCS level? What is it saying? Because these guys are supposed to be the best of the best, the top tier guys. And if they're not, are they not evaluating properly, not developing properly? What's going on with that?
So I don't think there's just one thing you can point at, right? I think there's multiple levels to this conversation. Now, I will say this: a lot of the guys you see come out of the FCS level, especially the high level guys, they were late bloomers. Like they're not guys that were just missed. Like Cam Ward didn't throw a pass in high school. Like he came out of a system where he wasn't throwing the football. So who was going to offer him as a quarterback? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, like he just got overlooked because he was in a bad system. You look at a guy like Cody Mauch, who started for the Buccaneers, came out of North Dakota State. Mr. Campbell remembers this. He entered high school as a tight end. He was like 6'2", 230. Rocky, when he got drafted, he was 6'6", 330. It was just, where did that come from, right? Cameron Scatabo just got overlooked in the recruiting process, a late bloomer. Like there's a lot of late bloomers. So you can't really blame the FBS programs because at the end of the day, Alabama's not recruiting the kid out of Texas like Cam Ward who hasn't thrown the football. You just can't do that. You have a too big of a selection, but at the same time, too, you have to look at it from the P5 angle, right? I would rather have, and this is why I get into the depth point. Rocky, if you're a head coach, right? Let's just say you're at Rocky University, you have a first round pick, right? Let's just say Tyler Booker from Alabama, right? Who's a big prospect. You have him at guard. Who do you want behind Tyler Booker if he gets hurt? Do you want the kid from FAMU who's played 2 years and played Division I football? Or you want to go get the 5-star kid out of Houston, Texas, who's never played at the D1 level? Which kid do you feel more confident in being a backup?
The FAMU kid, definitely.
That's what happens. They would rather have James Ash is the perfect example. Auburn signed 4 defensive tackles, right, in this high school class. Do you know James Ash wasn't even the first transfer defensive tackle that committed that day to Auburn? They got a grad transfer from Liberty that committed 4 hours before James Ash. You want to know why they wanted the kid from Liberty and James Ash? I'd rather have those two than throw those freshmen to the fire next year if I'm Auburn when I'm going up against Georgia.
Yeah, because
that's what.
Yeah. Well, the coaches under a lot of pressure. It often, like I say, I live in a Power 5 city, and I see a Power 4 city, and Baylor's here where I live, and I see a lot of things. I read a lot of things that are going on. You know, this has nothing to do with football, but Coach Scott Drew, lost his entire basketball team this year. If you go look up the story,
yeah, I can't believe that. Like that, it's crazy.
He's a coach that won an NCAA championship, and he lost his entire team. Now, a couple of them, I think he may be losing to the draft. The other guys all entered the transfer portal, but it's hard for me to make sense of what's going on in professional sports. Now, me and you had a very spirited debate about the situation with Nico, and my opinion, I think Nico openly made a decision that was not a football decision. I believe he made what is called a family decision, and because his brother transferred to UCLA.
Yeah, today or yesterday.
Yeah. So they had there's some things going on there outside of football, right? So anyway, my point is saying this. It's hard for me to make any sense of what's going on, and there are some, in other economies, going to the highest bidder kind of works out usually for the consumer. I mean, for the person in the market. I'm really coming to the realization that in this particular time period in collegiate sports, going to the highest bidder has diminishing returns for the athlete himself, and I regret that because I'm a get the money kind of guy. But it's really, you have to make a calculation that's much deeper than money right now. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, unless you're a guy like a Gentle Hunt or even like a Terrell Allen from Tennessee State. Y'all remember him a few years ago? Won the Buck Buchanan Award, but he was playing edge rusher at like 5'11".
Right.
Where was he going to go? Take the Buck Buchanan Award and go get you some money. I think he went to Tulane or something and got him a bag, and that's great. So, but for guys who have true NFL potential, like you can't tell me Carson Vincent would have benefited from playing anywhere other than at Alabama A&M this year. Right. You can't tell me Rob McDaniel would have benefited from playing anywhere else other than Jackson. Marquise Bell, Terrell Jennings from FAMU, still on a roster, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So it's just proven that you got to go where it's best for your draft stock. And at the end of the day, you get drafted off of your film. and your postseason all-star games, things like that. Well, guess what? You don't get postseason all-star game invites and combine invites for sitting on the bench. Got to have some film in there somewhere. And I think it just starts with, do I have a true NFL potential? And if me going to, because I look at even a situation like Niles Gaddy, right? Niles Gaddy would have benefited so much from staying at Jackson rather than going to Missouri and being a rotational guy, which, to be fair, the guy he was rotating with was a first-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, Darius Robinson or whatever. So, he was still good, but he would have been better at Jackson, right? And had 15 sacks at Jackson rather than like the 5 he had at Missouri.
See, and that's the thing. Blue, it's fun that you say this. Scotty and I, Scotty did a show and I had to bring this up. We were talking about, they were talking about, these SWAC guys are not getting drafted, right? And I went back and showed history. You had SWAC guys. These guys were all conference 4 years in a row. And they, like Michael Strahan, had 20 sacks. So what I'm saying, when you start having crazy and dominate, people are going to look at you. People are going to look at you and see it. So that's my thing is, to me, if you go and have 15, 16 sacks, guys are like, okay, well, let me take another look at this compared to having 3 and not playing. I just think that it's tape. Now, which leads me into another thing. You see the Ivy League. Not getting a bunch of guys drafted. That's not what they do. But they have teams that win and beat people. Do you think that HBCUs now might have to go and say, let me get the smartest kid that can fit my scheme, that I can keep, that I can develop? Or do we need to keep trying to go in the portal and say, let's go for the guy that's got the measurables, but hasn't played? Because, see, I'm starting to think, man, maybe let's just get a bunch of guys that are dogs that I can train them up, that are going to execute my plays like a Harvard, Yale type team, compared to be getting guys that, again, might not be, and again, it's not a level of intelligence as far as book intelligence, but, they're smart football players. When you see certain programs, and Coach Cole actually talked about this, when you see they're well coached, and they don't have a guy, and this used to be, and man, like I say, heartbreaking. Like I say, Jackson State would play teams. Grambling would play teams. They would have first round. They play teams. These guys wouldn't not even have a draft pick. Like the Louisiana Techs and Boise's back in the day. And Jackson State and Grambling have 5, 6 guys get drafted. But they played a certain way that it was a very smart brand of football. So do you think that might be something that we might start looking at and seeing?
Yeah, I think so I don't think that's a route for every single HBCU. But I think there's a few that can capitalize on it. The first one, and Black Pilot in the comments stole my thunder there. Howard should already be doing that. What kid wants to leave? Like, if you recruit the right kid to Howard, Mr. Campbell, I mean, it's going to be hard to pull a kid out of Howard. And you're seeing that with Blake Harper, right? In basketball. Yeah. He might come back. And they have the money to compete with the Creightons and these other programs. I think Jackson, FAM have that opportunity. PV, if they recruit the right kid, right? Because the degree program at PV is outstanding, but there are some that might not have that same backing, right? Where you probably can't lean in that same way, but you have to. I think the biggest thing is you have to find what your program sells best. I don't think the mold fits everybody, right? The Ivy League has their own mold, and maybe there's some that can duplicate it, right, with the small tweaks and things like that here and there. But then Alcorn can't use the Howard.
Hey man,
model.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yep.
You can. I can talk to the phone. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, like Alcorn can't use the Howard model, right? Because Alcorn's a completely different university with different challenges, things like that. Yeah. But Alcorn has to find what Alcorn can sell the most, right? What is the selling point of your program? Southern, Grambling, and I think that's what some of the other FCS programs have done well is, and that's why you see guys who stick around, like David Walker at Central Arkansas. What was it about Central Arkansas that kept that kid there? Well, you look into his background, right? He was a D2 kid that came from Southern Arkansas. He's from Stuttgart, Arkansas. He's a hometown kid. No one believed in him. And Mr. Campbell, you talked about it. All these people talk about, well, the FCS, players are declining. Well, what's the production? You have to have the production, the measurables. Well, David Walker is a 6'2", 270-pound defensive end who had 31 sacks and 63 tackles for loss in 3 years.
Let me hit something because somebody said MEAC. Well, let me ask you, because you might know this, because again, I keep up with the MEAC, but I know you're over there. Hey, shout out to Josh and those guys, HBCU Light and touch. Trey Oliver builds his program off of high school guys.
Yep.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see a bunch of guys ever hitting the portal where 8 and 9 guys. and not being funny. I don't see a bunch of those guys again say, "Hey, dude, we got a bunch of NFL guys."
But I mean,
But
let's be fair. He has had some top guys lead the program the last couple of years.
But what I'm saying, but not to the amount.
The only one really, right? That running back.
No, I was talking about a couple linemen. Like he had like 2 linemen to go start in back-to-back years. I want to say one started in Maryland and the other started somewhere else. I can't remember.
Torricelli, he went to South Carolina. He's probably going to get drafted this year. But both of those guys were grad guys with 1 year left. So maybe.
Yeah, I'm talking about his high school guy that he brings in. Yeah. And to me, that kind of fits the mold, right? You're not seeing a bunch of guys, like I said, again, Trey Albert's an amazing coach. Not to say, but again, listen again, I want to be clear. We're not talking about these guys can't play. I'm talking about fitting their program profile. A profile that let me get a guy that fits my profile. He might not be an NFL guy, but there's a lot of programs have a bunch of great college guys. You win football games with college guys. Okay, trust me, that fit. We just saw that in the basketball tournament. Florida does not. Duke has way more players that are going to be going to the NBA than Florida will. And Florida showed with a team concept that you can win. Duke had the number 1 pick and might have the number 8 pick with Campbell. So don't tell me what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I'm using Central because he keeps those guys. They like the program. They stay there. He builds them up. They graduate, and then they go on and do great things. So
hey, Blue, you mind hanging on? I just got a text from Coach. Okay. He ain't gonna be able to make it today. Y'all kind of stuck with me and Mr. Campbell. I apologize, Blue. I want to thank you for jumping on with us as well. But we got a question. We got a call. Hold on, brother. We got a caller, and I just wanted to make sure it's okay if you hang on with us while we take this call. All right,
for sure.
Go ahead. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What's up, fellas? Blue, Bishop, and Rocky. This is JB. Of course, calling y'all show from time. Just want to
thank you for calling, JB.
Thank you. Football. It's very good stuff. My favorite time of year. Okay, got a question and then a couple comments. Okay, the question is how many FCS guys you guys think get drafted this year? And I ask this question because we like to talk about how HBCU players are getting squeezed and stuff like that. I really wish someone would say that this is an FCS problem overall. This isn't just HBCUs getting affected by guys not getting drafted. The FCS as a whole is getting squeezed in this. And then, Blue, you mentioned Howard. I agree about Howard Model too. But does Howard care enough about athletics in order for that to happen? And then the last question I have is, I know it's a lot. One thing that probably helps with draft status too is who you're playing against. And this goes to scheduling. A lot of our time, especially in the SWAC, they tend to shy away from going against those P4 FBS games because they're afraid of like the loss or stuff like that. But do those kind of games actually help them guys potentially getting drafted? And that's all I got.
Yeah, I hope you took good notes, Blue, because I only got one of the questions, which how many guys do you think?
Yeah, let's start there. How many guys? Blue, how many guys you think are going to get drafted?
So, man, me and Gerald are dropping an article tomorrow, man, giving our final draft projections. I think 11 would be like, I think 12 would be like where I would have the strict number. My range was 10 to 15. Somewhere in there would be like my projection, but I would say 12 on the nose. I think there's some really good, probably 9, 10 locks maybe, and then there's some guys that are right there on the bubble. I would say where all it's going to take is like someone in the 7th round to be like, I don't want to bid for this guy. We're just going to take a flyer on him. Someone like a Tommy Mellott, Cam Miller out of North Dakota State, even like a Irv Mulligan, Land Larison, Aaron Smith from South Carolina State. Those are the bubble guys that are probably UDFAs or PFAs, but could get picked up in the 7th round. So I think 12 would be my number, which is what we had last year. I think we had 11 the year before, and then 24 2 years ago, which was insane. But I think 15 is probably the cap there, but I would put it at 12.
I think the next question is, he was saying that do you believe that the HBCU players not being drafted is not a HBCU problem? It's more of an FCS problem.
I think it's everybody but the SEC and Big Ten problem. Go look at the ACC. Their numbers are trending down. Go look at the Big 12. Their numbers are trending down. I just mentioned earlier the stat with the G5, right? Only 19 players from the G5 got drafted to FC compared to FCS, I think 12. So what happened? So I don't think it's just an FCS HBCU problem. It's a small school problem. Like even last year, I don't even know if a D2 guy got drafted. It might have been one. So you're seeing more programs are saying we're just going to draft out the Big Ten, SEC, and then we'll get everybody else as a UDFA, PFA, or draft them way late in the draft. I think it's a shift in college football right now, and I think the transfer portal's made it worse. Who do we constantly see have the top transfer portal classes in the rankings, guys, when they come out for the P4? All SEC and Big Ten programs. You want to know why? Because they're the ones paying out the you-know-what for guys. Like Will Howard came from the Big 12. He was the starting quarterback for the national championship team last year at Ohio State. You look at all the transfer guys that they brought in. So I just think that's the trend, right? The top programs are in the Big Ten, SEC. They're going to get a majority of the draft picks, and I just think we got to adjust as fans and just say, hey, as long as they make a roster, like Mr. Campbell, do you care that Terrell Jennings was a UDFA, or are y'all just happy that he's on a roster?
I want to be on a roster.
That's all that matters. We should start counting how many guys are on rosters on opening day.
Well, let me ask you this, Blue. I tend to think that more times than not, guys get drafted have some type of elite trait, whether it be speed, size, combination of the two, whatever. Whether you end up playing in the league or making a roster is a much more individual development kind of deal. Because I've been watching football a long time. You'll see guys with great traits just not be able to make it at that level because of the culture that is the NFL, and it's a tough sport to play. Yeah. Do you think the FCS level can prepare you for that kind of rigor and grind of professional football?
Yeah. There's a reason we have all these Super Bowl MVPs, all pros. I mean, Cooper Kupp played all 4 years at Eastern Washington and was a Super Bowl MVP, the Triple Crown winner, and was arguably the best wide receiver in the league a few years ago. Played at Eastern Washington. You look back, Jerry Rice, greatest college football player, the NFL player ever, potentially. Randy Moss played at Marshall. I mean, like the list goes on and on. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie played at Tennessee State. Look how great he is. You look at all the offensive linemen that have come out of North Dakota State. I think that the FCS program, it comes down to, and also I do want to say this, the elite of the elite play in the NFL. And I really do think the closer you can get to the field, everyone who really gets their feelings hurt about this needs to go to an NFL game, buy a seat as close as you can get to the field so you can really experience the size, the speed, and what's happening on that field. Because I've stood on the sideline of an NFL game and a college game, and you can't even fathom the difference that happens on that field.
Blue, this is what I along that song lines, I would say go about 3 hours early to the game and watch the guys come out in shorts, tanks, or no shirt. And you tell me what other human being or groups of human beings that you know that looks like that.
None
and I'm talking about on all kind, whatever level you want to look at. I'm talking size, speed, strength, explosiveness. Watch those guys warm up, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't have a chance."
And people forget there's 256 picks in the NFL draft every year. Do you know the percentage that is of the total players that are eligible for the draft?
Blue, guess what? I have a stat for you. I'm glad you said that. You about to steal my thunder. 257 draft picks. 44% of them came from the SEC and the Big 12. Think about that. So basically half of the draft picks came from two conferences. Okay? And everybody else came from the rest. So again, these are the things, and what you're seeing, and again, not to get too far, I sent Rocky, Blue, I sent Rocky and them, we have a chat, and then we start talking about things. And this is kind of delves into it. One of the things, I don't know, Blue, if you heard this, because you're on the ground, that they're talking about how they're going to give potentially conference automatic bids. And one of the things they said might be off of ratings.
Yep, TV ratings.
Off of TV, Rocky, listen what it is. Off of TV ratings.
It's entertainment at the end of the day, my friend.
So think about this, not the quality of play, but who brings the most eyeballs. Who do you think that's going to be?
SEC Big Ten. And Notre Dame.
Big Ten. And this is not me making this up. Has been put out there that ESPN, Heather Dinich, put this out there. One of their main college reporters.
I think they were very upset at the SMU Indiana game. I can't remember what.
Yeah,
what
it was both of those.
Was there, but Indiana played Notre Dame.
Yep. Yeah, whoever
SMU, yeah, you're talking about them being into the playoffs. You mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over like an Alabama and Ole Miss, a Miami. Like stuff like that. Like they were really pissed about that.
Well, and the thing that it turns out that neither of those teams had a real chance to win when they played the game. And so you may as well get the best matchup if that's going to be the case.
But the computer, well, hold on, Rocky. Okay, because the computer and the people said that was the best matchup. That's why Ole Miss didn't make it. That's why Alabama didn't make it.
It was a best matchup based on the criteria that they had. It wasn't the best television matchup.
Right,
I think Alabama Penn State would have been a pretty good television match. I think Miami and who did Indiana play? Notre Dame would have been a good television matchup.
And that is so crazy, Blue. And so now I'm gonna bring it down to our level, right? You follow FCS. What does that mean for when we try to go get TV contracts, right? And how important is it for us to play in this space where we can sell what we're doing, on a level? Because now if they're saying, hey, we're going straight ratings, we want big names. And again, they've already dissolved the Pac-12. The ACC is, they saved Florida State from Clemson for leaving. I don't know how they did that. But what do we do? Because we know now that's such an important thing. Now we're talking about revenue share. That money's got to come from somewhere. It's not going to come from fundraising. No matter what AD said, she's going to do a great job. That money has to come from auxiliary. It's got to come from TV packages. Things. So what do you think we got to do for that?
First thing is tune in when your team plays. I mean, like, because I know it had competition, but for Jackson Fam to do 20,000, guys, 20K. That's all we got for Jackson FAMU. Was arguably the most anticipated HBCU game of the year. 20K.
And a great game to watch.
Yeah, it was a competitive game. And I understand it was on the U and there were SEC games on all this, but you can't tell me there were like 20, there was only 20K people waiting to watch that game on Saturday. Rocky, you just can't. Like there had to be more than that. There were more people at the game than that. And so things like that really hurt the FCS, right? And I do think it's good, though, that you see some of these postseason games start trending upwards, right? We had, I think, 5 playoff games hit over 1 million. Celebration Bowl had a big year. Heck, the FCS championship this year got over 3 million at one point. So things like that trending in the right direction are big. But I also think the FCS and HBCUs in general, we got to understand that we have our own lane. Like, we aren't going to compete with the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC. Heck, you're not even competing with the Mountain West. Just get it out of your mind, or the Sun Belt. You also, I think you have to be more strategic where you put your good games. You have to pick certain nights. You have to pick certain networks. But the biggest thing, Mr. Campbell, is you have to watch the games, because at the end of the day, I don't care how big the brand is, right? Because we all know that FAMU's brand is bigger than a lot of G5 programs. But guess what? It doesn't matter, because if more people tune in to watch that G5 program play on Tuesday night, they watch FAM versus Jackson on Saturday, regardless of the competition of the channel. You know what ESPN is going to say when the SWAC gets to the table? Yeah, we're paying you. Yeah. We're paying you what you're worth. Only 20,000 people tuned in. We don't care what the YouTube views say. We don't care how many alum you have. We don't care about the Grambling brand or the FAMU brand. This is your brand. Like, I don't care what the attendance is. I don't care the pageantry, the tradition. You had this many people watch the game. That's what we're going to pay you. And it's got to change.
Blue, this is, as I've thought about this, and I've thought about what the success of FCS and HBCU football look like moving forward. And this is just something I've just recently come up with. Somehow, FCS and HBCUs have to form almost a holy alliance to make FCS football relevant to the masses. If there is some kind of consistent competition among FCS elite schools and HBCUs, to where the competition, I know it would take a while for the competition to get on par, but to me, that's the true future of FCS football, because you could take a brand like FAMU in a very competitive game against North Dakota State and create an amazing story behind that. You understand what I'm saying? That's where I think the sport should go. And I'm not talking about the racial implications. I'm just talking about the football histories of both schools.
Football.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to piggyback on it for you. What do you think, with that being said, like they do in basketball, conference challenges? Do you think that would do something?
Been calling for forever. I've been and there's conferences that do it. The Big Sky Missouri Valley has a Big Sky Missouri Valley Challenge every year where they all play each other week 2, 3, week 1, 2, and 3, right? There's a bunch of different MVFC versus Big Sky games. But the problem is this too, is I don't think some of these FCS schools have the same flexibility as you see with like the P4 when they schedule these things, right? Because you'll see like the SEC and Big 12 or Pac-12 do one, right? Well, Mr. Campbell, it's going to be really hard for FAMU to talk about the money, right? Traveling to Sac State one year.
Right.
And it would be difficult, even with the resources that Montana State has, to travel to Tallahassee, right? That's a big expense for any program in the FCS. And so I think that's kind of the holdup there. But, and Mr. Campbell, you know this, I'm one of the few people that kind of stand in the gap, because I do think there's a wide divide, right? You have the HBCU fans that don't want to associate with the FCS, and you have the FCS fans that don't pay attention to HBCU football because they don't play in the playoffs. And I don't think that's because they hate HBCU football, because I'll be honest, being in the space now, they don't watch the Ivy Leagues for the same reason. If you don't play in the playoffs, they don't care about you. It's not that they don't like black college football. It's, why are we watching Jackson FAMU when my favorite team doesn't have to worry about them in the postseason? Why watch it? Who cares, right? I'd rather watch a team we might see and learn about Tennessee Tech, Tennessee State, or someone like that. But I think that's the biggest problem with FCS, is that there's not this, there's no conversations across the subdivision, right? The Missouri Valley worries about the Missouri Valley. The Big Sky worries about the Big Sky. The Southland worries about the Southland. The SWAC worries about the SWAC. The MEAC worries about the MEAC. And there's no collaboration between the conferences on how to bring the subdivision up as a whole. And also, too, there's got to be some sort of way to include like the SWAC and MEAC in some of these general FCS conversations. And I'll say this, it's in Rocky, you're new to the space as well. I'm only 28, man. So like, I wasn't alive in like the early 90s, late 80s. I know the history, right? Because I went back and I've watched some of the old games. I've learned it, but I wasn't there. And I understand some of the, I would say some of the hesitation of HBCU fans wanting to get back into the FCS space, because it was way different in the 80s, right? And they were doing HBCUs really wrong in the postseason. It was really expensive and all this kind of stuff. There's been a lot of changes now, but it's going to be hard to convince some of the older heads that those changes have occurred because the bridges have been burned there. So I do think there needs to be some like reconciliation there. But I'm with you, Rocky. I think for the FCS to move forward as a whole, they have to. All these conferences have to work together.
I see a lane, and you guys tell me what you guys think. That there's a area in America, and I'll start at Chicago and move down to St. Louis and go down to Kansas City, where those seem like prime areas where you can host a Jackson State and a North Dakota State in any of those cities. Even a Tennessee State and a Southwest Missouri, whoever, in some of those big areas, and create a atmosphere about HBCU versus SCS challenge or something like that. And there's enough fans in those areas that have a little familiarity with both, that you could come out and create something that's could be matchable. Of course, it's going to be a culture war, but it's good for the sport. And that's what I'm saying. Ultimately,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. The game I want to see, and Mr. Campbell knows, I've said this on the show, we have the SWAC MEAC challenge, right? We have the FCS kickoff game. I think week 0 in the FCS, the Celebration Bowl champ should play the FCS national champ from the year before.
Big time. I think that I listen, I've said that. And again, you know what's funny, Blue? I'm going to talk about the old head thing, right? And I'm going to use Tennessee State. I'm going to pick on two schools, Tennessee State and A&T, because you're going to understand that. A&T's had big wins. They played and beat FCS, and then they play a lot of schools. They're playing in the CAA and things like that. Them people don't go to those games. They hate it. What is Tennessee State went and played North Dakota State? That's a big game. That's a big game. And they are more mad that they ain't playing Jackson State over there in Memphis. They are madder about that. So the thing about it is what I think with that right there, it gives something, because I think to me where it has to be some level of bragging rights, right? It's got to mean something. Because if I go play directional state, we don't have anything, we're not in the same geographical footprint. I don't know. But that right there for bragging rights, where people have pride, and you see this all the time that happens in the NCAA tournament.
There has to be a platform, Mr. Campbell, where both organizations or groups have respect for one another. And that's where I think it's kind of, I'm talking about respect for the football. I ain't talking about the people. I'm talking about the football. And I think on some level, Jackson State, FAMU, Grambling, those schools have to be able to be respected on the field by a North Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota, Southwest Missouri Auto. They have to be respected on the field, and then their fans will start paying attention. See, you don't have to worry about it at that point. To me, what I think the problem has always been in HBCUs, and this is just my 5-year window of looking at it. You don't want those games because you can't compete in those games. You don't like those games because you get humiliated in those games.
Well, no,
you don't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's see to me. I'm gonna be honest with you. Those games concern me. Blue, and this is my nephew. And this is why Blue I love, because Blue is a listener. This is what my argument. I don't mind playing North Dakota State if you give me my North Dakota State money, because I know there's things that come in with that. And see, the problem is what people do is they want us to play one hand tied behind our back. You see what I'm saying? So I come at FAMU, and as bomb squad as we got, but then we can't get the money to have the facility because don't get it. Those guys are training.
But here's what I'll say, Mr. Campbell. If North Dakota State had Mississippi's footprint, they'd be playing Division 1A.
Yeah, if North Dakota State was in Jackson with their, they'd be.
Oh, well, exactly. But see, this is what I'm saying, because you got to understand something, and Blue can understand.
So both teams have something, the natural footprint of Mississippi.
No, but again, what I'm talking about, what separates a lot of these schools, and I'm gonna say this again, I've seen this, is the facility. You guys, we got schools in the SWAC that still don't have training tables.
That's why I don't like using the North Dakota State. And Mr. Campbell, you've noticed this on my show. I don't use them as the example, but I like, the thing that frustrates me with it is because I love football, and also too, everyone, like, I cover the FCS, but I'm a little bit biased toward the SWAC, and people know this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would prefer, like, to me, there's no reason that FAMU should not be able to beat Incarnate Word, like, because it's a private school. But Rocky, I've been to Incarnate Word, Mr. Campbell. My bedroom is bigger than the press box at Incarnate Word. They hold like 5 people at that stadium. Like, they don't have any.
The whole school is on one. When I went probably 7-8 years ago, it's all on one block.
That's what frustrates me, is that, like, Incarnate Word will go to PV, who has more money, more resources, and smack them.
Well, So let me do 2 things real quick. So set this. Because see, this is where,
and Blue, let me say this, Mr. Campbell. Every player that Incarnate Word has on their especially the black player on their roster, probably would have went to PV had PV taken football serious.
So here's the thing. It's 2 things. I'm going to outline 2 things. FAMU has won games in the playoffs. And I'm not talking about 1978. I'm talking about in the 2000s. They should have been Jim Trustle's team. My quarterback doesn't go down. We win the national championship that year.
Yep.
Jackson State is getting ready to play Southern Mississippi, one of the most seminal games. And I'm telling you, anybody that was around there, they with Brett Favre should have beat them. Should have beat them. So that pride, what you're talking about, I've seen this firsthand. The thing that, again, that is the thing that we got to talk about, how many great coaching staffs do we have to coach the players to beat these?
It's a whole nother conversation.
That's where the problem comes in at. So you're looking at, so let's just talk about this, right? In the SWAC, right? Willie Simmons proved that he can coach, right? That's why he down the road down there in Florida. I'm telling you something. Jackson State with TC Taylor, I'm starting to see things coaching wise that this guy is starting to get it. You see what I'm saying? They're going to give Southern Mississippi hell down there. You see, but the problem is the rest of our coaches. Now, Tremaine Jackson, I feel something, but Trey Alvin, he can coach that level. So
that's why he's won.
So the thing about it is, I'm gonna be honest with you, our coaches got to accept the challenge of coaching our players better. Yeah. To your point, and this is what people are like, oh, I don't want to say that. Well, I'm going to say it because we have the history. Eddie Robinson wasn't scared to play nobody because he was the better coach.
Gaither, all of them would like, come on, man.
Billy Joe.
I don't. That's the thing that frustrates me. And listen, okay, so Sela had a generational quarterback when FAM played him, but you can't tell me Southeastern Louisiana was that much better than FAMU in the playoffs that year.
I'll tell you this, I'll say this, and that was my man, the guy that just kept the train on track. But I didn't Celebration Bowl championship team. Oh, we would have beat the hell out of them boys.
I agree.
That squad, because we had a quarterback that could make plays.
Yeah. That's the thing that frustrates me is that I've seen teams just in the past few years, right, go up against teams that they're more talented than on paper. And guys, like, do y'all really think Nichols was 59 points better than Southern last year, who won the SWAC West?
But see, no, absolutely not. They should.
And they played at Baton Rouge.
And Blue, they should be. Southern's one of those legacy schools that should always be good.
Yeah.
Should always be good. Jackson State should always be good. FAMU should always be good. Prairie View, Alabama State. And I'm talking about schools that have the resources that should be good. And when I saw them when they played Nichols, that just blew my mind.
They should have won that game.
Should have won that
game. Nichols had a losing record last year and beat the SWAC West champs 59-7 on the road.
So that's the challenge that I think a lot of our coaches in these programs, and again, that's why I think Tremaine Jackson, but again, a high tide raises all boats. I think Tremaine Jackson's going to show some coaching. I think TC Taylor's going to show, because again, listen, even with FAMU, one of the things that, and Coach understands this, to beat Jackson State, hey, that coaching level is got to come up because the talent is the talent. Because there's nobody in the SWAC that just got like with Deion that had them crazy bomb squads where you just had crazy. The talent is kind of like with everybody, but it comes down to coaching. It comes down, can you make the right call, the right play call? Can your quarterback execute? So the same thing when Southern lost to Nichols, I was just like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense.
It gets frustrating because, Mr. Campbell, this because when I first got in the space, I approached you wrong, but like that, and labeled as a hater by some people who are like, he's just disrespecting HBCU football. It's like, no, I have so much respect for HBCU football that the standard should be way more than getting beat by 50 by Nichols, who sucks. Nichols should never have a better football team than Southern, ever. Like, there should never be a year, and there should never be a year where, just extend it, that PV should have a worse football team than Houston Christian. Come on, bro. Houston Christian plays in a CVS parking lot, and they're better than PV.
But believe it or not, in Texas, over 20 years ago, they were struggling at the FCS level. All the Texas schools were struggling.
Yeah.
And then there was a coach that coached at Navarro maybe more than 20 years ago. He won a national championship in Navarro, and then he went to, I want to say, Sam Houston. And that's when all the other FCS schools in Texas kind of took off after he won the national championship in Navarro, and then he went to Sam Houston. And from Sam Houston becoming relevant in FCS football, then all the other schools. You have a D2 school that used to be a D2 Tarleton. It wasn't a D2 school more than Blue. You probably know more than I do, but probably 5 or 6 years ago it was a D2 school.
Yeah.
And now it's one of the better programs in FCS.
Top 10 program right now.
Absolutely. So if Tarleton did it, I'm sure Jackson State can do it. I'm sure FAMU can do it.
But Totally got the fun. But Rock, you got to admit though, because I had my friend.
They're part of the same A&M program.
Yeah, but go look. I tell you what, go pull up what they get overall compared to what Prairie View. When we're talking, pull it up.
In funding, budget, or athletic budget.
Yeah, pull it up. I'm just curious.
No, major bullies. I'm not joking. There's a CVS on one side of their stadium. Like their stadium backs up to a CVS. You can park in the CVS to go to the games. I'm not joking. Look it up. That's Houston Christian Stadium. They literally play in a CVS or Walgreens parking lot.
Because I'm gonna tell you this, Blue, and this is what I think, and this is why I kind of want to circle back when you're talking about FCS programs. So, like we just made a post. There was a post about players getting drafted in the NFL, right? And producing on Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Texas. This is all part of our SWAC footprint, okay? Mississippi per capita, you know what I'm saying? A bunch of football players. I think, matter of fact, I looked, and they were 6th out of the states in the SEC, 6 of producing football players in the last decade. So there are football players all around. What do you think we need to do to get those guys? Again, not the Power 5 guys and the Power 4, but like it's so many football players. Is it evaluation? Is it that we're not coaching them? Because there are a lot of football, like you said, they're going to Incarnate Word. We should be able to get, this is my argument always been, and I'll shut up on this and let you answer. FAMU, Jackson State, Grambling, Southern, Alabama State, Prairie View, we should never lose to a school that's got a direction in their name. Seriously.
Yeah.
If it's some directional state, you know the school. Come on, man. How do we lose to that school?
Okay, so I'll address the obvious one first. Resources are important. And we talk about the lack of resources at some of the HBCU institutions all the time, like especially in terms of nutrition. Nutrition is a thing I hear from coaches all the time. Yeah, I don't think it's there for some programs. And also strength and conditioning is not there too. How do you develop offensive line when you don't have kids on campus year round like some of the other programs do? And then also too, I think part of it is talent evaluation. And the dirty little secret too, Mr. Campbell, is some of our coaches are scared to go after talent where they see bigger offers on the board. They'll see a player, and if he posts an offer from certain schools, they won't even recruit that kid because they don't have confidence they can land him. Not even knowing if those offers are committable or not. That's by far the biggest problem, is that they're scared to go heads up, and I think that's a massive problem, man. In the grand scheme of things. But guys, man, I got to jump. I got a show here in like 5 minutes. I got to record.
Hey, man, we about to wrap, bro. Man, we appreciate you, man, for real.
Hey, appreciate y'all, man.
Tell everybody where you're at and what show you're going to, what you're doing, and also you're saying that you're gonna have your draft thing with Gerald. Tell everybody real quick.
Yeah, man, you can go check out the website, FCS Football Central on SI. We got our top 10 FCS prospects, top 10 HBCU prospects, and we're dropping our final predictions for where those guys will go. We'll have a 6th, 7th round, 5th, 4th round, things like that, man. So you'll kind of understand where all the HBCU FCS guys might go this weekend, man. And then the Blue Bloods on YouTube, all podcast streaming platforms. And we'll have going to record right now an NFL draft preview, man. We're going to break down all the FCS guys. So y'all got all the information y'all need going into the weekend, man. But you guys know this. Anytime, man, y'all need me to hop on the show, hit me up. I'm always tuned in, man. I love what y'all are doing, and anything for y'all, man.
Hey, thank you very much, Blue.
Zach McKinnell, y'all.
Hey, man, that was dope to have Blue on, man. He's a tremendous guest, a wealth of knowledge, and
he was our DEI guest.
Hey, that's over with, man. Trump's in office. Ain't no more DEI, man.
We do
only merit opportunities here, man. Ain't no DEI here.
We can't have no diversity, a little diversity over here.
No, man. But Blue's dope, man. Blue's an HBCU guy. He part of the family, so we're just happy to have him on the show. Now, Rocky,
what numbers are you? I see now. What are these numbers? Just because I'm seeing revenue. What are we doing?
So I didn't look up budgets, but I looked at the total revenue for each school in those years. Those are the years that it went into. Prairie View had $221 million in revenue received.
Athletic revenue?
No. It was just total revenue for the schools.
Okay.
Total revenue for the schools. And then Tarleton had $219 million in total revenue. So they're like schools. Like they are like schools. It's how they disperse the money is the
I'm
only
curious
difference.
to see can you look up and see what Tarleton's athletic budget is versus Prairie View's?
Okay, let me see that. Let me try that.
Shout out Miss Faye in the house. You know what I'm saying? She always around checking everybody out. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, let me just say this too. First of all, we appreciate all you all watching. You know what I mean? That's why I thank everybody. Because, like I said, this is some FUBU stuff. This is for us to buy us, and we really want to expose. And listen, hey, man, I love people that don't agree with us. Make me smarter. Tell me some stuff. Hey, man, what's up, Rotan? My man be here every week. He don't agree with nothing I say, but I respect that he got a difference of opinion. See, man, that's what I'm talking about, man. I love the fact that we can have this type of dialogue with a bunch of intelligent people. Nobody coming in here in the chat acting a fool and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of respect over here. So, man, we just trying to build this. So, like I say, again, we want everybody, tell people we over here on Tuesday nights. Hey, man, I'm working on having Coach Ward come on. And like I said, I'm working on getting Michael Victor come on. So, man, we going to have some hot things coming on. We going to keep working. Hey, Miss Faye said you need to get some glasses, bro. She said you need to go.
I got them right here, but I look way too smart with these glasses on. Way too smart.
Well, you might need to have them on, bro, because people be questioning some of the stuff that you be saying. So you might.
So to your point, Mr. Campbell, Prairie View's approximate athletic budget is $14.8 million, and Tarleton State is $20.7.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What? See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. So a school that was smaller than Prairie View, that's going to be D1 pretty soon, is already got $6 million more dollars.
Yeah.
Now I guarantee you, if we call AD Golf and ask him what he could do with $6 more million, you'd be amazed. That's your training table.
Oh yeah, I mean $6 million.
Hey, again, money that they can use for cost of living. Okay.
And I think this is more important. Total revenue for both schools are 114.8, and Tarleton is 20.7. But when you talk about expenses, Prairie View is at break even, and Tarleton has a $2.5 million surplus.
Now listen to what you just said. A surplus on top of that. See, man, this is why I be trying to tell people, I don't mind. Listen, man, and I'm going to say this again. FAMU won the damn thing before anybody else. So we ain't scared to play anybody. But you can't tell me, and listen, man, Rock, I ask you a question. If you got a job and I give you that, just real quick, man, that's 20% more money, right? You're not going to live a little bit better with 20% more money? I tell you what, and again, FAMU's, I think we're at 12. You don't think if AD Suggs had a $20 million budget athletically, what we would be doing?
Now let me say this. It could be that the difference in that budget, and because we don't know the sources of that revenue, right? We don't know where the revenue is coming from. But as you mentioned many times, you can always increase the revenue of the budget by more ticket sales, more donations, more sponsorships. All those things contribute to the overall revenue brought in by the athletic program.
Let me ask you a question. What's more likely? Because like I say, again, I'm very familiar with Tarleton. Mm-hmm. Who do you think have more businesses? Just Tarleton people or Prairie View people? Just business that can sponsor or put your. And now here's the thing.
Tarleton has a whole city. Stephenville is a whole city.
Exactly. They got Tarleton stuff all over the place.
Yeah. Well, that is the city.
So you got to understand something. And again,
and they're football crazy.
Our schools were initially built to train people to get jobs. Okay. So Prairie View people got a bunch of great jobs. Now we're starting to shift and say, you know what, maybe we need to start creating our own businesses and things like that. So you can go sponsor. Because see, the thing about it is, when you, man, as somebody that does sponsorship, man, listen, when anybody, I'm gonna tell y'all something. When anybody does a sponsorship, they lose money. You never ever make money. I'm telling you, you do a sponsor, you really hooking somebody up. I'm telling you this. And this is from the biggest brand, other than the NFL, where you know you can kind of see, but anything else underneath that, it's a break-even thing.
Well, the brand alignment is what you're actually buying.
Right,
you know,
but that's what I'm saying. But that means that's money that you're spending out that you hope to figure out intrinsically that you get back. So again, if I've got $6 more million, you think of any SWAC school that if I gave them $6 more million, how much better their program would be. So now we're talking about Tarleton. And I start moving over, start looking at schools, and those spreads are like that. And Rocky, you got to understand something. That's $6 million. It's $6 million every year. So over 10 years, that's $60 million. Now, mind you, either I'm at a deficit, break it even, and you make it, okay, I'll do that. They're making 2.4. So in the next 10 years, they got $20 million just sitting there. Come on, man.
For capital projects. You can build, and they have a hell of a facility being built in Tarleton. I want to say it's $100 million complex they got going up over there.
So these are the things that I'm talking about, and I think that anybody, because it's a schizophrenic thing. If you look at us from an academic side, right? And I know, Rocky, your daughter goes to Prairie View.
Absolutely.
That Prairie View, that Prairie View degree is going to mean something.
It ring out.
And listen, and no disrespect to Tarleton, but there's not even close to a Prairie View degree versus Tarleton. Prairie View degree is here. Tarleton, you went to Tarleton. You see what I'm saying? Again,
it largely was a commuter school for many years.
Exactly. You think a FAMU degree is not better than a Georgia State or Kennesaw State or Jacksonville State? A Jackson State degree, Louisiana Tech? Come on, man. Louisiana Tech don't have people like Jack State, the majors, that got people working all over the place. But these are the things that I'm talking about. So academically, yeah, we stick our chest out. We can compete. But then when it comes to these things, like when I see that, okay, let's go play Tarleton, and I know they ain't got to worry about of training table because everybody eating good, everybody feeling good. They got the cost of living, so their players are getting $2,000-$3,000. You see what I'm saying?
Hey, we got Coach Pep on. Coach Pep, what's going on?
All right.
Go ahead, Coach Pep. You're live on HBCU Coach's Corner.
All right. I got 3 questions to ask. Should the school take care of the coaches of the program first? And you had a promoter on there last week. He said Grambling shouldn't be playing Ohio State, but the players at Grambling are trying to get drafted into the same league Ohio State players are getting drafted into. And I could see Grambling going on a 3-year program. When you don't have no donors, you have to make the money the best way you can. In that 3 years, Grambling is going to play Ohio State, and they're going to play somebody next year. And the following year, they'll be able to compete and win some of them games. But you have to take the bitter with the sweet. And his bitter at the beginning, but it's going to be sweet in the end. And another thing I want to say about the SWAC. And the SWAC coaches are getting players out of the Porter and the junior college players. If they take a high school player, he come there running a 4.6, a wide receiver, come there running a 4.6 of 4.7. 4 years later, in his pro day, he's still running that 4.65 or 4.75. I don't like the coaches that don't develop them kids. If a baseball player, a baseball pitcher has an 80 miles an hour fastball and a changeup, and 4 years later, he leaves there with the same fastball and the same changeup. You haven't taught the kids nothing, but they putting butts in the seat in the SWAC, but it don't translate to minor players that getting drafted. The HBCU Player of the Year. The running back from I forget the name of the school. He ran a 4.84 in the combines, in the Legacy Bowl combines. They could have worked on that guy's 40 and got him drafted, because if the defensive ends running faster than 4.84, the linebackers, he ain't gonna get around nobody. But I got another question to ask you. Who made the worst deal? Alabama A&M find that coach, Alcorn find Fred McNair. Who made who made a better choice?
Okay. So Maynard gone versus Fred McNair, Sam Shade, and Coach Sid is down there. Rocky, which part you want? I tell you what, let me take the Grambling payday first, okay? Because I got some interesting numbers on that. So Grambling's getting $1 million, right, to go up there to play Ohio State. Here's the funny thing. You know who Ohio State was supposed to play, Rocky? They were supposed to play Connecticut and pay them $1.9 million. So why they couldn't get Grambling that $1.9 million? So for them, it was good business. Now, what do you think is going to be a better game that people are just going to just to look at? The UConn brand or the Grambling brand? I would dare say the Grambling brand is worth more than the UConn brand on the football side, not basketball. On the football side, okay?
And the band side.
Huh?
Because they ain't coming up there without the band.
Thank you. So Ohio State, they're going to have the band playing together, and they only giving Grambling $1 million. So, Coach Pep, here's the thing. I'm in between on that. I don't have a problem with our teams playing Power 5. But that high level, those guys, I just don't want my guys to get hurt. And when you're talking about the Georgias and the Ohio States and stuff like that, I'd rather do like Jack State play of Southern Mississippi, where I think we could compete and I think we could show it. But when you're playing a team like Ohio State and the Georgias, hey, man, that's a whole nother level.
That's pimping.
Even Deion talked about that.
That's
he didn't
pimping.
like those type of games.
That's pimping. By any other name, that's pimping. So here's my deal about it, right? What's the job of the head coach or the football team? Is it to make the school money or is it to win the swag?
Unfortunately, that's a trick question, because in some of our coaches, especially in basketball, they got to go raise money and try to win the swag. So to me, here's the funny thing about it.
Which one does playing Ohio State do?
Oh, it's nothing but, because like I said, it's not going to help the football team. It's not going to help them. There's nobody going to tell me playing Ohio State is going to make Grambling better. Not Ohio State. It's about the money. It is 100% about the money. So my whole point behind it is that there are, and you know that game is going to be on TV. Easy. You know you're going to get beat 90-0, because those are the best players in college football. That's a pro team. That's a pro team. Period. You got Grambling playing against the NFL team. So they're going to get beat 90-0. I don't think it helps the Grambling brand. I don't think it helps the Grambling players. It's a good, I'm sure they'll choreograph a great band presentation, and it'll look great because both of them have historic bands. And so I know that they're going to somehow play together or do something, But I don't think it's good for the kids that play the game, or I don't think it's good for the program at all. No, I don't either. I don't either. Now, go ahead. Now, Coach Pep wanted to talk about the development of the players, and I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is how I feel, man. I felt this way ever since I came into space. With all the challenges that HBCUs have,
I don't think they should take on the responsibility of putting players in the NFL with all that they had, with all the coaching staffs. You know what I mean? If your aspiration is to be in the NFL as an HBCU player, and you're talented enough, and you're driven enough, you will be found, you will be selected. But I don't think HBCUs should bear the burden. And I think the Legacy Bowl is a great vehicle to get seen and get developed. But I don't think you say that guys hadn't been developed. If he runs a 4.8 when he got there, he runs a 4.8 now, and he's won a SWAC championship and ran for 1,000 yards 2 years in a row. I'm not going to say the guy hadn't been developed, because a football player is much more than his 40 time. And I think there are many examples of that, in my opinion. So go ahead.
All right. Okay. So this is what I think this goes back to the coaching. Pete Richardson, W.C. Gordon, Billy
They
Joe.
was working with different material than they working
Okay,
with
so
now.
now, okay, that's what I'm about to, okay, you about to, okay, because I want about to figure out, because I want to see what you're going to say. So is it because they can't develop them? Because these guys develop guys. Because now, mind you, Rocky, these guys still wasn't the best of the best in people's minds, right? That's what they will say. That's why they still had guys going to Alabama, Auburn, LSU, right? And things like that. So are you saying it's because it's not the coaching, it's just the level of the ability of the guy? You just can't coach them any better than what they're doing.
No. I'm not saying you can't coach them any better.
Well, I'm talking about the development, because if you can't.
So I'm saying that the football, and you know this, is so well scouted from just an attribute standpoint. And I'm talking about height, weight, speed standpoint. Like, those things are known by every player that puts on pads. So if a guy runs a 4.3, and you know this, he's going to get a shot at the D1 level regardless of what size he is. You understand? They're not saying a guy who runs a 4.3 is too small, even at the D1 level, because he has elite speed.
Saying the guy came in running a 4.6 and he leaves running a 4.6.
My point is, the guy who comes in and runs a 4.3, he came in running a 4.3.
No. That's not what Coach Pep said, though. Listen what he said. He was talking about guys that were superior athletes, that you developed them. That was his question. A guy comes in running a 4.64, like they say 4.8, and the guy leaves running a 4.8.
Coach,
So
let me ask you, did Bob Hayes, did the track coach at FAMU develop Bob Hayes, or was Bob Hayes Bob Hayes?
Now listen, people will tell you that Bob Hayes had a legendary track. See, this is the thing about coach. Okay, I'll flip it for a lot of people. Do you not think that Jerry Rice, even though he had the ability he had, that Archie Cooley had something to do of putting him in an offense that featured him, had a quarterback that he taught him? You don't think that was not development? Now, this is Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using him because that's an easier thing for people
I think
to understand.
I think that's a great case study, Jerry Rice.
So I think that you got guys. You look at Doug Williams. Doug Williams was on here. You don't think that Eddie Robinson, Doug Williams talking about, he came in, and after 4 years at Grambling, allowed him to be, because of the development that Eddie Robinson, that put pros, quarterbacks into the pros, that wasn't development? That's coaching. I saw guys, hey, I know Jimmy Smith Pro. Jimmy Smith was an all-city guy in Jackson. Had the size, weight, speed. But you're not going to tell me that Houston Markham and coaching them did not develop Jimmy Smith to be an NFL, Bailey should be a Hall of Famer. I'm pretty sure Jimmy would admit that he got coached up. He had the talent. He got coached up. So I think for me, when some of these guys, I guarantee you had Eddie Robinson. Ask him about Houston Markham and that crew that coached him.
Coach Pep, I still got you on, Coach Pep. I want to ask you this. My high school coach say he can teach a guy to do everything but be fast. This is my high school coach. He can teach him, he can make him strong. He can get it. You know what I mean? He can't teach him how to be fast. Can you teach a slow guy to be fast, Coach Pep? I guess he's not on. He's not on.
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, okay. Can you
Hello?
teach a slogan? Hey, can you get a 4.8 guy to run 4.5?
You can't get a 4.8 guy to run 4.5, but you can get a 4.8 guy to run 4.6s. I can get a 4.6 guy to run 4.4s. Just like pitching, just like throwing, you have to do hit repetition. If you throw, your arm gonna get stronger. If you run, your time is gonna come down. But you have a certain mechanism to bring your speed down, right? You have ball drops. You have explosion. I teach speed. You have to break it down in the 40. You running 5 yards. Time yourself in 5 yards. Time yourself in 10 yards. Whatever you run 10 yards in, if you run 10 yards in 1.5, that 40 time will be 4.5 or 4.4. And you have to believe you can do it. And the mindset will give you that. And I've had the fastest guy in the world, 3.9 in the 40s from Trinidad and Tobago in 2000. 2000, he ran a 3.9. And I had Joe McKnight. He, in high school, he ran a 4.25. But I don't see, you have 100 players over there on the sideline, and you not getting none of them players drafted. You don't have a player over there run the 50 categories from wide receiver, 4.4, 4.5 guys. They had one boy in the Exodus Bowl ran 4.4s from North Carolina Central or somewhere, and that's where if you line up 5 guys, if they all run the same time, you can take either one of them. If you have one guy over there running a 4.4 amongst the guys that's running 4.6s, you have to take the 4.4 guy. Yeah, you have to take him. They coaches not putting enough emphasis on the player that he think can get drafted. You set that player off to the side when the practice is over and teach him how to run that 40. Teach him he gonna run sprints, right? Deion Sanders, when he recruits a player, he said, "Man, I got to get you ready to play in the NFL." He don't say, "I got to get you ready to play in Colorado." I'm not getting you ready to play at Jackson. I'm getting you ready to play in the NFL. That's the way the coaches got to think. Man, I'm not getting you ready to play for Alcorn. I'm not getting you ready to play for Southern. I'm getting you ready to play in the NFL. Well, right? That's what the players come there for, to play in the NFL.
Hey, well, Coach Pep, thank you, man. We about to wrap up the show, man. I want to always thank you for calling in and giving your input, man. You talk just like a speed coach, and look like you've had a lot of success over the years. and I appreciate it. Hey, I always glad to have you call in, Coach. Thank you. All right, man. Hey,
let me answer his last question because he left one, the coaching hire.
Okay.
Hey, man, listen, I think Sam Shade, listen, Fred McNair should have stayed at Alcorn. I think that they should have kept Fred. Maynard just did not move that program, Alabama A&M, to the next level. You have a lot of, talk before that. Sam Shade, hey, man, is a button-down cat, man. That's going to be some hard-nosed football. That's going to be that Magic City Classic is going to be a game I'm going to watch. And that's one of those teams, Alabama A&M and Prairie View are going to be those two teams that, hey, man, y'all better buckle your chest down when you play them cats. Because it's going to be a different mentality about playing football. Because it's going to be about physicality. It's about doing it the right way. So, man, I think that Alabama A&M, hey, man, listen, they're going to be right there. So I wanted to make sure I answered that with Coach Pep.
Hey, Mr. Campbell, this is another great show. Unfortunately, Coach wasn't able to make it, man, but I guarantee you he'll be on next time we're on. Next week, we won't be on. I won't be available. So we'll all take a vacation day next Tuesday. But I love these shows where we can sit here and talk free. I love having guests, Mr. Campbell. I love having guests. I love, coming on here interviewing interesting people. And I hope, pretty sure someday soon we'll have somebody else from FAMU on here. But I also love when we get a chance to just discuss topics and talk about things that are going on in the world. If you guys if for some reason you missed the beginning of the show, you got to go back and listen to Detective Campbell break down the investigation that involves Shannon Sharp.
That is ongoing. It's still ongoing. And Crook, let me say though, ain't nobody hating on Fred. When we said Fred should still be coaching down there at Alcorn, not being your quarterback coach at Southern. That's what we said. So I'm cleaning that up. We come in.
He the quarterback coach now. I thought he was a tight end coach.
Well, whatever I'm looking at what Crook is around there talking about, listen, he need to be at Alcorn. That's where he belongs. That's where he need to be at. But now, Rocky, I really appreciate it, man. And like I say, hey, man, you got to get the old folks' perspective. You know what I'm saying? They got enough of the young folks. You know what I'm saying? Still got Similac on their breath. You know what I mean? You got grown folks give a little bit tonight.
Absolutely. And as this offseason kind of winds down and we go into the summer, this time last year, you guys were coming off a championship at FAMU, right?
That we were.
But also a lot of turmoil at the same time.
Right.
What do you think the outlook coming in this year? Is it championship or bust?
Yeah,
well, that's what you put on Cozy last year. You put championship or bust on Cozy last year.
Well, no, I didn't. No, I didn't put. No, we put that on Willie. We kind of gave. No, I think that honestly, you know what? No noise is good news. You know what I'm saying? You hearing a lot of great things. Coach.
Not
Burns,
a lot of transfer portal activity over there.
Yeah, a lot of guys. We ain't got a bunch of guys, that bounced around and stuff like that. I think, again, Coach deserves to get his team. And I think he's got his team. And I mean, from the coaching staff to the players. And I think it's all about buy-in. So, listen. Hey, man, we know what it is.
So let me last question I'm going to ask you as the resident Rattler. What do you think about the narrative that's moving around the HBCU space that FAMU had to depend on Florida State to come save their program?
Listen, man, or better yet, I'll give you one better. Why does it always take HBCUs have to hire these folks that went to FSU? Deion, Cozy, Ward. It takes us to give y'all highlights. How about that? So see, in the end, it's always HBCU that makes you shine.
That's one way of looking at it now. That's
the only way we gonna look at it.
Cause FSU and offer Charlie nothing.
There you go.
Florida State didn't even offer Cozy a position coach job.
Well, and not to say that he did not have the opportunity, but the thing about it, one thing about HBCUs, we give everybody opportunities. We make the most with the less. So that's the great thing about it. So he's both of those guys, and with Deion, and I'm gonna keep putting Deion in there because that Florida State folks wasn't giving him nothing. Talladega gave him a degree, so he can get a job at Jack State. Jack State gave him the platform for him to get that $40-50 million.
Hey, what'd you say? Hey, it's coming out the woodwork.
Oh yeah, listen. See, thank you, EA. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, man, it's always us, man.
Did Terrence Graves go to Florida State too?
Huh?
Did Terrence Graves go to Florida State?
Oh no, I don't think so. But we re-rolling. See, them Seminoles don't take care of their folks, man. We take care of our folks.
No, I think he went to Savannah State or Fort Valley State or something like that. I was just messing with my man Adrian Crook. He said I made up that I'm sure what he said, I made up the narrative that the Florida State people come to say FAMU. Now, man, those people are so excited to be at FAMU. Charlie Ward, I suggest y'all go check out the interview on the not the interview, but the press conference on the off script channel. He had a great talk. He had a great speech, and there's no doubt in my mind that I don't know how y'all consider Charlie, but he believes he's a rattler.
Hey man, he is a rattler. He was born a rattler, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. That's okay. Listen, man. We know because everybody doing their picks. We'll do our picks later on. But when I come back with a big smile on my face and we HBCU national champions and Coley done won more games than the other previous coach, and my boy T-Buck up there making that thing move up there in Valley, I'm gonna have them all come on. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have them all come on and talk about how great it is to be part of this HBCU family.
Hey guys, we want to thank y'all again for coming on. And I know this is a great getaway for a lot of y'all, man, because a lot of y'all are like myself, deal with things each and every week, man. And we, just love these escapes, these sports and all this shit kind of stuff. But we know sometimes it ain't always positive. It ain't always sweet out here. So as Coach says it sometimes, if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot and hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you.
How about that?